The following announcement has been paid for by the...
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome again to another nOw podcast. I'm here again with Cody and Trevor. This is our fourth episode back now. It's incredible. We've been doing this for a month now. Can you believe that?
Yeah, we're getting all the kinks out.
We are. Fine-tuning everything. Let us know what you guys think, too. Give us a review on whatever podcast platform you're listening to. If you want to hear something specific, or you got feedback in general. If we're terrible, tell us. Tell us what we can do to improve this podcast, because ultimately we don't want to be like any other podcast out there, because we know there are a few. We want to do something special for you guys. So if you want to hear something or have us do something unique, let us know, and we'll do our best to deliver. But again, Cody, thank you for joining me again. And Trevor, the three nerds, the three amigos are back. And
Yes, sir.
What a time to be a wrestling fan. And I'll be honest with you, I'm going to have you guys carry me in the first segment, because I did not watch much wrestling this week. For information on my personal life, as you may or may not know, I am moving, and we finally have a closing date. I am out of here in the current studio setup I have now by Wednesday, Thursday. So
I think you deserve some cheers in chat for that.
hip hip, hooray!
Hooray!
Thank you for that. Nucci13, hey man, in chat. You can join us in chat every Sunday night when we are live, around 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right on twitch.tv/Dose of Nerd Acumen. What's up, MX? In chat, he says, hey, yo, it's your birthday. Shout out birthday to Nucci13. You're now Nucci14. It's my bad joke. There we go. Lock with a cheer. Thank you for that. So that'll be what's happening this week. A little bit of information, too, if you do follow us on twitch.tv/DoseOfNerdAcumen. Tuesday is Taboo Tuesday. And then I'm going to change Thursday's show to Wednesday. So heads up on that, just because of the moving. So NAW is back. Normal shows next week. But Tuesday and Wednesday this week. So heads up on that. But that's not why we're here. I know you guys are here to listen to a wrestling podcast. So Trevor, Cody, what happened this week?
It was kind of a slower week. They're just WWE's building to Survivor Series, and AEW is closing out, getting ready for Full Gear. So it was fairly slow week.
I thought it was a good week, though.
Good week?
Yeah.
I do want to say one thing while it's on the tip of my tongue. We talked about, as we exited the podcast last week, what we thought was going to be the general direction falling out of Hell in a Cell and what they were going to do with the title picture. And one of the ideas that we discussed was not defending the belt. And spoiler alert, they're not defending the belts at the pay-per-view, much like we had as one of our predictions.
Yep.
Well,
I think they listened to us. That's what it was.
It must have been.
It's Survivor Series, the one night of the year where they go head-to-head. How many times are we going to hear that this month?
But no NXT.
Yeah. They're not very happy with NXT in the office, so they don't want to reward them.
It's not a reward or lack of reward. It's called pimping your brand. Like, do you?
That's what they say.
That's such a dumb reason.
Because they keep losing to AEW Weekly in ratings. Vince apparently doesn't want them on. He doesn't want them on Survivor Series to showcase them even further.
So let's not give them potential additional exposure that they deserve, and just keep them off the show as punishment. That I mean, from a business standpoint, that's just silly. They're not doing because of COVID, is what Nucci in chat says. So they're saying it's because of COVID.
That's not what I saw. Could be.
I mean, there's a potential, reducing the amount of people facing each other. It's one of the reasons to Andrew a fist. That's not this kind of show. Okay, she says first. that's a
He
different
was
show.
warning you for later. That's what you're gonna get.
Wow. Wow,
If you wake
Trevor.
the kids up. I
This
didn't mean
is...
it like that. I meant if you wake the kids up.
Okay. So this is labeled as explicit content, by the way, if you're a podcast listener. So listener discretion is advised. MX wants ass. This thing is already off the rails this week. Good Lord.
To be fair, his ass is probably PG.
Okay.
Alana Scared Straight is probably what he's talking about.
Gotcha. Well, it's Andrea Lana stream stuff. We had to rebrand it. Because she didn't want to just play scary games anymore.
Well,
Never
that's
wanted
not
to
fun.
play scary games.
That was the fun of it.
No, I agree. But, what can you do? What else happened this week? I know we had Halloween Havoc for NXT. Speaking of the topic of NXT right now, did anyone watch that?
I watched most of it.
Most of it, okay.
Yeah, I watched it.
Finished watching it.
It was okay. Johnny Gargano gets his title back, the North American title.
That was a little strange to me. I thought they were going to keep it on Priest for a while.
I agree.
So they pulled it off him already? That wasn't even a month, was it?
Yeah,
No.
Gargano won in a Devil's Playground match. Is what they had.
What is that?
Anything goes. Weapons.
Oh, okay.
They use weapons. They brawl. Falls count anywhere. Gargano had help, so it wasn't clean when some dude in the Scream mask came out. They never revealed who it was.
Retribution.
But the one thing I do enjoy about NXT right now is they brought Pat McAfee back, and Pete Dunne is back.
Is he? That's exciting.
He joined
Yeah, so Pete Dunne joined Pat McAfee, and that is a to be faction.
You know, that could work.
They're setting it up for War Games, I'm sure.
That could work. You know, McAfee has been very impressive, I have to say. His match impressed at the last takeover. His storyline arc where people questioned kayfabe. It was comical. But
Yeah,
it was solid.
not only did he surprise that much in the ring, but he also is very good on the mic, which that probably comes with him hosting his own talk show on Sirius XM. But
I was going to say, he has years of experience there. Nucci in chat, real quick, says they wanted to see the Boogeyman. MX is waiting for William Regal to scream War Games from a very peculiar spot in the building. But yes, Pat McAfee, you know, honestly, like, I wasn't expecting to be impressed. And it's a nice surprise.
And the Haunted House of Terror match.
Now, what's that?
And it's basically what the House of Horrors match should have been between Orton and Wyatt. They had zombies and dressed as a werewolf and crazy spots all over, and it ended up in the ring with all the zombies and stuff.
You say it was zombies?
Yeah, zombie ladies.
Okay. I need to go back and watch this.
yeah, I mean,
clearly.
it was definitely a fun episode to watch. Like, it wasn't like so impactful storyline wise and everything, but it was a fun episode.
I mean, it makes sense for Halloween being, you know, a fun event to kind of step away and give your talent something to explore too, and then the production-wise too, something to explore. There needs to be nights like that where they can step out of the safety zone and do something unique, and have it as that excuse where, oh, it's Halloween. But this also allows them to try new things. So
Yeah, and it was enjoyable. It worked.
I do need to go back and watch it then.
Yeah, definitely a show you should go back and watch.
I didn't see the last match, the Io Shirai versus Candice LeRae, but it was a TLC match. And Io Shirai won after Shotzi Blackheart stopped the Scream guy from earlier from interfering.
Yeah, because she was the host.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Spun the wheel for him.
Yeah, Locke, with the alerts doubling, I don't know why it does that. It has something to do with the input or output, and then when we use Discord, it's only ever done that with Discord. So something to test sometime. I don't know how to fix it. Something to look into, though. Sorry, off topic. Production thing as a note, if we do listen to this back and forget. The other thing that happened, since we're on the topic of Wednesday night, you're good, MX. On the topic of Wednesday night, we had another show, AEW. Anyone watch that?
Of course.
Of course.
Yeah. I watched that. That was the first one I watched.
Okay.
Yeah, it was
No, I watched
it was-
Raw first.
It was a very good episode of AEW this week. I mean, they got their final set from the tournament, and as everyone kind of expected, we're getting Hangman Adam Page and Kenny Omega at Full Gear for our number one contendership. Hangman and Wardlow had a pretty good match for what it's worth. Wardlow's still kind of green, but I think that Hangman kind of carried him a little bit, but it ended up being a really good match.
Yeah, but neither one looked bad in it. I mean, Hangman never has looked bad really, but they both looked strong, even though Wardlow, dang, can't talk tonight, lost.
Yeah, and I don't think that's taking. Neither of them are gonna lose any traction for that match. So just because Wardlow lost, he's not gonna lose any traction because it was a fantastic match. It was probably, I mean, it probably wasn't the best match in the night because you also had Kenny Omega versus Penta, which that's always going to be a great match. But it was up there on par.
Now you guys go ahead, keep on that because I didn't watch it, so you're gonna have to carry me through Wednesday.
Kingston and Moxley both had promos setting up their match, and I thought they were both pretty good. And then Kingston had a match versus Matt Sydal, and he finished that one using Moxley's Bulldog Guillotine.
Yeah, and Kingston looked pretty decent in the ring, honestly. We haven't gotten to see him much in the ring. We get to see his promos quite a bit, and he's very good at promos. But we never really get to see him in action, so this is kind of a small sample size of what we actually get to see. And if he's anything like this, how this match was in the championship match, and I think him and Moxley will have a very good match because they are very similar in a lot of different ways. I think it's going to turn out to be a very good match.
Do you see him dropping the belt?
I wouldn't think so, but
no, I
see.
see him dropping the belt honestly to Kenny Omega. I think at Full Gear, Kenny Omega probably beats Hangman, and he's the one that's going to take the belt. That would make the most logical sense because when Moxley first came to AEW, the first person he really attacked was Kenny Omega.
Right, so it comes full circle.
And gave him the dirty deeds onto the poker chips.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, so I mean, it definitely coming full circle, and I think that's where this all ends is those two meeting up at the pay-per-view after Full Gear and closing out the story there.
So there's a beginning, a middle, and end to a story in wrestling that's working.
Crazy how it works.
Plus, they're continuing the story between him and Page because they were tag partners, and now they're not tag partners. They're still friends supposedly, but I think Kenny's going to go
full heel at Full Gear.
Seems like other wrestling companies should take notes here.
Yeah, like
and you know they're watching.
The long-term booking in AEW.
Of course they're watching.
On point right now.
Yeah, you know they're watching and they're maybe not taking notes, but
they're taking notes. They'll deflect anything, but they're watching. They're taking notes.
We say they are taking notes, but the person that's not taking notes is Vince.
No, he's
set in his ways.
Yeah, he's not going to change ever. It's just not going to be a thing. The big
But,
change will be after he goes, which I don't want to happen, obviously, but we won't see a significant change until something happens like that.
And we also got a TNT Championship match, Cody Rhodes versus Orange Cassidy. They had their rematch since they had the time limit draw the first time. This one was a lumberjack match. And the Dark Order was set to not interfere, but they did at the end. John Silver of the Dark Order, who is probably the greatest member of Dark Order, ended up hitting Orange Cassidy with a boot that Cody didn't see, and then Cody ended up finishing off Orange Cassidy shortly after that.
Didn't Arn hit him too? What Arn punched him? Maybe I'm wrong.
No, I remember John Silver hitting the boot because that was
Yeah, I knew that, but I thought Arn hit him too, like when they were escorting Silver out of the ring.
Yeah, but Trent also sucker punched Cody as well, though. So it was kind of interference on both sides.
Is John Silver a pirate?
No.
I wish.
Is he tall?
No.
He's like really short for a wrestler.
Is he long?
If you want to have the best laugh of your entire life, just watch a couple BTE skits with John Silver. He's probably the funniest human being in AEW.
But is he long?
He would like to think he's long.
Yeah, see, MX is saying Silver hit the pump kick and then Arn punched Orange Cassidy. Then he went while they were moving him out. And then the announcers were like, "Oh, he didn't see Arn do that." And then I think they're playing it up because maybe that Cody's going heel also.
Well, yeah, Cody didn't want to be a face for this rivalry, he didn't want to be a face apparently because he knew that Orange Cassidy, there's no way Orange Cassidy's gonna not be the face in a rivalry.
Orange Cassidy was a pretty good match. I like Orange Cassidy.
Yeah.
I just don't like that belt, the TNT belt. I don't like it.
I like it now that it's finished.
I guess, but I don't know.
When it wasn't finished, yeah, it was a bad looking belt, but that's also because it didn't have any of its gold plating or anything like that. It was just a plain belt. But now that it has the gold plating and everything on it, it's actually not a bad looking belt.
It's just strange. Like, it'd be like the USA Network Championship or the Fox Championship. That's just what I'm getting at with it.
The new NWA Women's Champion Serena Deeb defend the title against Layla Hirsch. She just won the night before.
Both of them were actually pretty good.
Yeah, it was a really good match for not for just being tossed together as far as I know, because she just won the title the night before from Thunder Rosa.
She's one of the newest to the roster, right?
Yeah, I mean, they probably knew ahead of time. But...
No, I'm saying she's one of the newest acquisitions to the roster, right, in the division?
Yes. Serena Deeb is an AEW contracted wrestler.
Okay.
Who is the NWA champion.
So for people that don't know who that is...
it's like...
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, just like Kenny Omega is the AAA Mega Champion, which he's going to be defending that title very shortly in Mexico.
That came up on AEW as well.
Yeah.
In the Penta Omega match, because Omega won it from Rey Fenix, and then he wore it out to the ring underneath. He had the shirt over, and when he pulled his shirt up, and he was like taunting the Lucha Brothers, because Rey Fenix was out there even though he was in the match.
Yeah, so Kenny Omega is going to be facing Bandito. I can't remember the exact date for it, but it's at AAA Mania.
Which is usually
it's their biggest show of the year.
Isn't that
Kenny
in
Omega is
December or January? When is that normally?
That's a good question to Google really quick.
Yeah, Trevor
So
said
triple
he's on his other mic. Go ahead, Cody.
So it says traditionally it's in August, but I don't see a date for this one because they just announced it, and they wouldn't just announce something for next August. It most likely got postponed because of COVID.
Yeah, that makes
Um,
sense.
I don't see.
Can I turn
I don't see a date.
Trevor up?
I'm turned all the way up on mine.
Yeah.
We all know I'm super quiet anyway. When I do my promo.
Yeah, your user volume is all the way up too. All right.
The Penta Omega match was really good though, but I mean, I expected.
Yeah,
that
they're
to
not
be a
gonna
better
have that.
match. I think Ray Phoenix would have been a better match because he's a more McGuire type. But either one of them would have put on a great match.
MX says you need to eat your mic for your promos.
I don't have a mic. I use my phone to record it.
Eat the mic.
Eat your phone.
Eat it.
So with going back to Serena on the roster, correct me if I'm wrong. She's the one that was part of the Straight Edge Society years ago with CM Punk, and she's the one that shaved her head.
Yes.
Correct.
That's the background Lana.
Yeah, there's a crowd behind me. We're down in the arena. Gotta have a crowd for wrestling podcasts. A lot of podcasts have ambient noise in the background, whether it's just like a melody playing or something. I don't know. Is it a bother? I don't think it's a bother.
I like it.
There was a Shawn Spears squash match. I mean, he literally hit his move, the C4, and that was it. And then they set up Scorpio Sky and him.
Yeah, they're trying.
So sell me top 3 things.
I don't know if they're gonna be able to get Shawn Spears over at this point, but they're gonna try.
Yeah, they did. When is their pay-per-view? This week?
November 7th.
Yeah, next weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they got one more show before then. Yeah,
Yeah,
set
they
up
have-
a few things.
Yeah, they set up a tag match between MJF and Wardlow versus Ortiz and Sammy Guevara because Sammy Guevara and Ortiz don't like MJF, and Chris Jericho wants him joining the Inner Circle, which they're going to have a match at Full Gear. Chris Jericho versus MJF.
They had a town hall meeting.
And that's to determine if MJF is going to be able to join the Inner Circle or not.
Speculation is that they're going to turn on Chris, and MJF's going to be like the leader of Inner Circle.
It would definitely be a good swerve considering how much Ortiz and Sammy Guevara are showing hate to MJF.
So
but I can see it.
Talking about Shawn Spears real quick, the thing that's tragic about him is he was at a point where he was starting to be over in the world of wrestling, and then they misused him 2 years in a row where they put him in the Rumble as the entrant 10, because obviously perfect 10, right? That's what we're doing. But he was starting to get over, and then they cut him.
Yeah.
Why?
I mean, they do that with a lot of people.
Well, yeah, I mean, Ty Dillinger, he was great towards the end of his NXT run, and then when he came up to the main roster, they kind of just lost track of him or didn't have anything for him to do, and then they just was like, hey, now you're R-Truth's friend, and that's where it stayed.
Give me the top 3 reasons why to watch AEW this week.
Top 3 reasons why to watch AEW?
Mm-hmm.
MJF, Ortiz, Sammy.
Are you talking about this past week or this week coming up?
No, last week. So to go back and watch it for anyone that missed it.
Kenny Omega and Penta. They're great every single time they're in the ring together.
Wardlow, Hangman.
Yeah, and I'd say
Town Hall was pretty funny.
Town Hall was pretty good. And then Orange Cassidy, he's just a spectacle. So if you haven't seen Orange Cassidy, that's something that you should definitely invest in putting time into.
MX is both semifinals and the Town Hall.
Yeah. Yeah, both matches were very good.
Any other notes?
Go
ahead.
That just means that Kenny Omega versus Hangman is going to have to be 10 times what those two matches were, which is going to be difficult, but knowing both of them, they could easily do it.
Any other notes that we want to touch on for AEW for this past week?
Had a sit-down interview with the Bucks and FDR, furthering their storyline.
Yeah, so I actually saw something yesterday. The FTR did an interview, and they were saying how they just wish that they had more time to tell this story. Like, they were not unhappy with how it was played out in AEW, but they felt like they should have been given more time to tell this story. Because the reason they left WWE was literally for this match, from what they said.
And now they're moving on from it.
Yeah, so now that they finally are getting the match at Full Gear, they're unhappy with how it's been playing out, even though they're the ones that are writing the story.
MX, just to remind Young Bucks added the stipulation if they don't win, they'll never challenge for the tag titles again.
Oh God, I hate that because then they're gonna win.
Well, Cody didn't.
But Cody also just went for a different title.
Yeah, I know that, and that's why I don't like it, because it's already been done with Cody. But there's speculations they may lose, and then they're going to be heel with Cody, and Cody's going to be like, screw it, we're going for the titles anyway, and the Young Bucks will go for the tag titles, and he'll go for the World Championship eventually, because they're in charge. So screw it.
They can do whatever they want.
The only ruling that I like that's similar to that one is with an asterisk that they'll never challenge for the such and such belt again, as long as that such and such individual or individuals is champion.
Yeah.
That is the variant to that I enjoy, because yes, for one, we're not seeing the exhausted feud overdone, and then we're not just like diminishing that person's chase for, because like, you're in wrestling to chase after championships, to be the best. When you're not chasing after that, you have to be distracted with a good feud, something on a personal level. Otherwise, what are you doing? Like, why are you there? So for stuff like this to exist, that you're just not going to challenge again, like, okay, what are you going to do then?
One thing we can't ignore about AEW is Brandon Cutler and Peter Avalon. They finally had their match to determine who was the biggest loser in AEW.
The biggest loser?
Yeah, so neither of them have ever won a match, and they even tagged together to try to win a match, and they never won a match.
Are they still tracking records then, I take it?
Yeah, then they had a match against each other last week on Dark to see who would get their first win between the two of them, and they ended up losing, or that wasn't last week, that might have been 2 weeks ago. They ended up losing in count out and disqualification fashion. So they finally had their match on AEW Dark, not on regular AEW or at the pay-per-view that everybody expected. They threw him on AEW Dark, and Brandon Cutler walked away with the first win.
Wow.
But Avalon was on TV this week. He was in the town hall.
Yeah,
was like,
they built that storyline up so much that you would expect that would have been at least on the buy-in, but even even still, they just were like, nah, we're just gonna throw it on Dark.
on the town hall, he was like, I'm just gonna shoot my shot. Can I join the inner circle, please? And they all just laughed at him.
What a sorry individual.
Any final thoughts on AEW before we move on to either Raw or SmackDown or both?
Nope.
All right. Hit me with Raw feedback.
The one thing I didn't like. Okay, there's a lot of things I didn't like about Raw, but we'll start with the thing that we talk about. We've talked about for the past 2 weeks: Retribution.
That's what
Another
they lost
loss. No growth. Nothing. Just completely ruining any hopes they have of becoming a serious threat.
Who did we say on air? I know something was said recently about what the potential approach is for Retribution. Was that said on air or was that said in a chat?
Yeah, and it was said on air, and we all kind of agreed that like we just can't take him serious anymore.
No, it's who they're comparing it to.
Oh, who they're comparing it to?
Like what Vince is doing with this.
Vanity?
No.
Nana?
No. What group chat was this in? Somebody had acknowledged them being something political.
Did we actually have this conversation?
Did we?
I
Maybe
don't
we
remember
didn't
that.
then. Maybe it was somebody
Did
else.
you have this conversation by yourself?
I might. The voices in my head are doing it again.
You and Gravities were having this conversation?
Oh, those voices go back and forth a lot. Let me go through my messages because,
Now it's going to bug you.
yeah.
I didn't like this. They had qualifying matches for the men for the Survivor Series team, which was good. But then the women, they were just like, these are 4 of the women on the team, and then the 5th one, they let them have a match for. The 3 women have a match. I'm like, well,
Yeah.
why do the men have to compete, but the ladies don't?
Well, the men's roster is much bigger.
Yeah, I
and
understand that.
There's more. There's a lot more of a chance for variety with the men's. With the women's, I mean, you only got realistically what 10, maybe 15 women that are actually.
I know there's some out right now, and Oscar's going to be in the match versus Sasha.
Yeah, so I mean, you really can't. There's really not much room for variety there.
I mean, the roster in general is very
I get the
lacking.
point, and I get the kind of shitting on the women's division as a whole, because that's not doing them any favors, and not getting them more screen time.
They had Nikki Cross versus Lana versus Peyton Royce for the final spot, and Lana won. And then Nia Jax put her through the table again. For like the 7th week in a row.
She's gone through so many tables since Miro debuted.
I was going to say, they said that on social media.
It has been every week, 6 or 7 times.
It's
every
been
week
since
Miro debuted on AEW, she's been put through a table.
It's like a personal stab. But the thing is, she'd have to agree to those spots.
Does she, or can they?
You can't just slam people through tables.
Like, you kind of can when they're under contract.
Can you, though?
You can do whatever you...
I don't think so.
And if they don't, then they're just not getting screen time.
Ugh. The storyline that she needs to leave the company. It's doing her no good to stay there.
I don't see her staying. She's a great valet. I don't know why, but she's a very good valet.
Regardless of what her talents are or not, none of this is doing her any good. Ever since the storyline with with Lashley,
Bobby Lashley,
when all that started, it's done no good for her, and it did no good for Miro, aka Rusev. I mean, obviously he left, but she needs to go. Like, not that for her own personal stock and her character or whatever she wants to do in wrestling, she needs to go.
Yeah, I'm curious on how long she actually has left on her contract.
Yeah, I don't know.
I
Because
highly
didn't she
doubt she's
re-sign
willingly
when
gonna
he
stay.
didn't?
I don't know, honestly. You'd think that as a married couple, that's something you would talk about.
Well, I want to say they were both looking to re-sign around the same time, and they signed her. And I think they were trying to negotiate contract with him, and that's when the storyline was all
he
playing
already
out.
knew.
Yeah, he was
already
he was 1 foot out the door. But yeah, I wouldn't stay. I mean, unless that pay is really, really good. I don't
like
think I
we've
would
talked
stay.
about before, AEW pay is not saying she's definitely going to get a contract there, but that pay is
It's
very
plausible.
competitive.
I mean, she probably potentially has pull, being that her husband signed.
Yeah, and I'm sure that they could work it into like a manager's contract or something simple like that.
Right.
Even if they didn't want her to wrestle, because she's not a great wrestler, but she is very good as a manager, and she's been good as a manager for a very long time.
Yeah. So to go back quick to Retribution, so listeners aren't like, what was he even talking about there? I had a conversation with someone. I read it somewhere. I don't know who it was, but if you're listening, clearly I know you at some sort, because I swear I had a conversation.
I don't know, you've been
was...
ignoring me for a week.
Have I?
No.
I was going to say, I responded to you today. Anyway, there was a comparison on a political level of Retribution being compared to Antifa. Have you heard or read anything about that?
Nope, wasn't us.
So he wanted to make them just look stupid. So there's a conspiracy that's what's happening.
Yeah, it's not over.
MX has been left unread at least 3 times this week. Well, if you message you over the weekend, I check it, then I don't get back to everybody until Monday. You guys know this. It's no secret.
Yeah, whatever they're trying to do, it's not working.
Yeah, no, it's not.
It's just making WWE look like they don't know what they're doing with potential.
They need to just scrap it before they damage these people's careers even more. The good thing is they have masks.
Like we were talking about, Dijakovic is just getting such a great talent, just getting squashed.
And that thus continues the story of NXT call-ups.
And they sort of started to build up a Dio Madden and Brock Lesnar thing like last year when Dio was still on commentary. I don't know if you remember, but Brock went over to the table and Dio stood up and stopped him from going to the table and then took an F5. But they were
he was off TV after that.
Yeah, and then we haven't seen him since, and now we're finally seeing him for the first time since then.
That's right, because they randomly had the 2 new people at that time on commentary with no reason, no explanation. And then he took that spot, and then we never saw him.
We never saw him until Retribution started. He was apparently working behind the scenes, getting ring ready, and
because he's a tall dude.
With Retribution.
Yeah, that's funny. I never put that all together.
So you got Dio Madden going from going face to face with Brock Lesnar to getting squashed every week. Dijakovic, same thing, just not with Brock Lesnar, having great matches in NXT and being a serious threat down there, and then just getting up here and getting squashed. The only person that makes sense is Shane Thorne. He was used to getting squashed.
Yeah. And Brock Lesnar right now, too,
him.
to speak on him, he's not under contract anymore.
No, he's not. He hasn't re-signed.
If anyone plays the new UFC game, he just, I think, expires this week. Grab him while you can. They may have already expired as of speaking of this, but he was available as a free download for a limited time for their roster because he's not under WWE contract, so they could do that. So
first Survivor Series match for the men was Styles versus Hardy, the winner on the beach. It was a pretty good match, but AJ's bodyguard was scaring Jeff Hardy every time he'd be out of the ring. I don't know if you've seen that guy. He's
Who is he?
huge. Jordan something, I think his
He's
name
a
is.
random dude.
Just random?
He
We
was
don't know him.
Random giant.
Okay.
He was the guy that's outside the bouncer outside of Raw Underground, which they just got rid of with no explanation.
Well, because it sucked.
It was just stupid, and they built up one dude every week just to have him get knocked out by Braun at the end. Like, how are you gonna? What was his name? Like Debo something?
I don't know.
I can't remember his name.
He did get drafted, but he hasn't been on.
Yeah, but he was like just dominating every week on Raw Underground, and then he goes face to face with Braun Strowman and gets knocked out. Like, if that was the time to push anybody, have him beat Brock Lesnar, or have him beat Braun Strowman, and look, you have another star that you can pull on up.
And the thing is, Braun has taken so many losses that one more loss isn't going to change him.
No, but you could have built up somebody to the moon right there.
Right.
After you were already building them pretty heavy.
Right.
I mean, what's the difference between them bringing a new guy onto the roster and having him win squash matches against local competitors every week, compared to this, where you have this guy in Raw Underground who's dominating not just local guys, but some other people like Dolph Ziggler. Yeah. And then you just have him get squashed before he even gets a chance to get into a real ring.
It goes back to what I said earlier tonight. It's like, wow, imagine having a beginning, middle, and end to a story for a character or characters.
Crazy how it works.
It's such a crazy concept.
It's crazy that other companies can do it, but
they're trying it on SmackDown.
But the thing is, like, we're approaching what, WrestleMania 37? Is it 37, 38? What are we coming to?
I think it's 37.
37. Plus the history before that. Like, this is not something new, and especially to be a family-owned business. Like, what is happening?
And you've been the top wrestling company in the world for 20 years.
Right.
20 years, and you're still shitting the bed on such simple things that, like, most of the fans could probably write a better finish to a storyline.
And I've seen it from fans. I've seen fan concepts. I've talked to so many people. The problem, I don't know if this is indeed the problem. This is my perspective on the problem, my theory. Too many cooks in the kitchen, and then one final like sous chef, being Vince McMahon, giving the final okay on things, and then him just being, oh, I don't like that, I'm going to change this, and then it doesn't seem logical anymore. So it's just, I don't know. And I mean, at least it's not as bad as WCW, where you got on pay-per-view nights, people throwing their creative control card down, and then Hulk Hogan, Jeff Jarrett, all that shenanigans, if you go back to the late 90s, early 2000s. What a shit show that was.
No, it's just like the whisper game. You have a phrase, and then it goes down so many pipelines, and then by the time it gets to the last person, Vince McMahon, is not even close to what the original concept was.
No. It's... all I ask for is a little bit of, like, continuity with things, and just some sort of direction or logic. Like, I do love when a story comes together when it seems confusing. That payoff is amazing, and I love having unpredictability to things, even though a lot of things in wrestling is so predictable. But I just... and it's one of those things too, it's wrestling. Immediately when you discuss wrestling, you have to surrender to logic, because wrestling is a world of its own. But when the fans clamor for specific things like that, I just don't understand why we can't get that delivered. But then again, we are the most fickle fans, at least for this world of entertainment. We can't be pleased.
It's true. Not. There's always going to be the large vicinity of people that are going to be upset about whatever the outcome may be in a storyline.
And with everything, I mean, the moment that you get some big payoff for so-and-so to get the belt. Let's go back to over a year ago with The Fiend. we so desperately wanted that storyline to make sense, and like when it made sense, all of a sudden people were turning on him. Like I was at Survivor Series last year, people were cheering for Daniel Bryan, and I get he's a great talent to cheer for, but we're talking like from SummerSlam for the Fiend's debut into Survivor Series, and already people are over the shtick. And I see that all the time with Kofi Mania. All of a sudden, like people are like, "This is the greatest moment ever," and then the next pay-per-view, they're like, "All right, next champ." It's like, holy shit.
Yeah, but I think with the Fiend, the whole thing was like, why are you so interested in championships? This makes no sense.
Oh, I agree.
And then let's just completely bury you with Hell in a Cell. Have
Literally.
you get destroyed by Seth Rollins and basically murdered. And that didn't do anything. That did terribly for both of them. Seth Rollins hardly recovered from that until he turned into the
Messiah.
Into the Messiah. I mean, he
and
was
even then, I don't think
dead
like
in the water.
Even with the Messiah gimmick, he's not at that gold level he was once at.
No, great gimmick, but I digress.
I mean, it's unique. It could have been better. I think losing AOP, I think the lack of direction for the people around him could have been
losing
better.
Austin Theory.
Right. And where did he go?
He's back in NXT. He's probably
he probably
like
week
he's probably like 0-11 since going back to NXT. Completely burying the kid.
That's unfortunate because he was a talent.
Yeah.
Well, we had the Firefly Funhouse this week. That was pretty good.
Now, where are they going with all this? Are we recruiting more people?
Alexa.
Well,
Alexa was on it, and he made tea, and Rambling Rabbit drank it, and she's like, the secret ingredient was arsenic, and then he started foaming at the mouth and vomiting, and then he died.
Oh, God.
Yeah, and then she laughs about it.
Okay.
So she killed Rambling Rabbit. He's probably died about 47 times. He's the Kenny of WWE.
South Park for the kids that don't know.
Yeah, she poisoned him with arsenic, and then they pretty much waved off right after that.
No, and then her eyes were all red and stuff, and she was talking about let him in, and then she went back to being her sweet self, and then Bray Wyatt turned into the darker self and was talking about let him in, and it was pretty good. And then they were talking about she's going to have Orton on a Moment of Bliss later.
Oh yeah, that was after after Bray bashed a dead Rambling Rabbit with a giant mallet.
Oh man. Sometimes I don't know. Wrestling is strange. That's all I gotta say. Just sometimes it's weird.
Did an interview with Keith Lee, and he's pissed off because Braun punched him in the dick last week. I mean, I understand why that makes you mad.
I was happy, pretty pissed too.
He's so strong though. The ending of his match with Elias, how he can just lift the guy up like that into a power bomb.
Elias is a big man too.
Ridiculously, yeah, he's ridiculous. Well, Elias clearly jumped, but the fact that he could jump and be lifted that high to get his legs over Keith Lee's shoulders.
Keith Lee's a big
not
dude.
A small dude.
He's a big dude. I remember, and this is going back to Survivor Series last year, being there in person, seeing him come down, and I was like, holy crap, that's a big boy.
Yeah, you never really realize how big some of these guys are until you're at a live event.
Then,
Braun Strowman, he looks big on TV, but once you see him in person, you're like, that's
monster.
A massive dude.
Yeah, it's a monster.
The Keith Lee Elias match was the second Survivor Series match. Keith Lee won because, he got even the Spirit Bomb, but Elias was distracted because Jeff Hardy's music played. Nothing.
Imagine if it was Matt Hardy's music.
I'd be distracted too. It'd be very confusing.
So he gave him the Spirit Bomb, got the win, so he's on the Survivor Series. He joins AJ. And then Elias was standing up, and Hardy came behind him and whacked him with the guitar. So they both whacked each other with guitars yesterday.
Yeah, they both hit each other with guitars this week on the same episode.
What's the budget for guitar?
I really want to know how many guitars they have, because it feels like every time Elias is on, a
He's
guitar
got a
gets
new
smashed.
one. Yeah. I mean, you can just make cheapo ones. Like, they don't cost that much, but still.
Yeah, you're going through quite a bit though.
Right, at some point. It's got to be a cost
Because
for
it's
your
not
gimmick.
like their guitar. They have strings and everything on them. Because
Right, they're working guitars.
Yeah.
But, like, what's the...
Yeah, what's the cost on each one?
Right. $30, $40.
Yeah, I couldn't see it being much more than that.
But still,
Because
like,
even at, like, I know they're not doing them right now, but they were even smashing them at house shows. So they just probably have a truck driving around that just has
just with
tons of
guitars. You
Just-
should sell
there's a whole
those to
trail of
fans.
Guitars.
Like, that's your merch. Why don't they do
They had
that?
Drew McIntyre taking on The Miz, and he kind of just destroyed him. I
Yeah.
mean, it wasn't a total squash, but it wasn't a very competitive match. And then Matthew McConaughey was on the Thunderdome.
So,
it was.
here's the question. With Miz, now that he has Money in the Bank, do they make him lose a lot right now? Do they push him kind of to the side and then have the surprise cash-in moment?
Yeah, I mean, that's the smartest thing to do, is kind of have him off for a while without the briefcase, so we don't see the briefcase for a while, because we tend to forget about things if we don't see it for a week or two.
Right.
And then, yeah, I mean, lead up to a surprise cash-in, the first one we've had in 5 years.
Has it been that long?
And it's been a long time since we had a actually surprising cash-in. What was the last one? Maybe
I'm trying
Dean
to remember.
Ambrose?
That was a unique one, just because of the significance of that
It was
event.
the same night.
Yeah.
But I think that was the last time we had a successful cash-in for the men's side.
There's no way it could have been that long. Somebody look that up.
Yeah,
New
when
Day
was the
was
last successful cash-in?
New Day was dressed as Street Profits, hyping up the match between the two of them.
That's going to be a fun match.
If they make it, because they've got to face Cesaro and Nakamura. I think that's who
They're going to
came
make it.
out. Yeah, I figure they will, but they got to put that out there. Oh, they could lose.
They're not. I'm sorry. I think too many people want to see this matchup rather
The
than.
final men's match was Sheamus versus Riddle.
Because they dropped his first name.
Sheamus won. Yeah.
Why are we doing that again?
Really? I don't know. Vince doesn't think people should have full two names.
Why don't we call Roman Reigns just Reigns then?
Great question.
Like, Ali lost Mustafa.
Okay,
Yeah.
I was wrong. So we did have Brock Lesnar do his cash-in 2019.
Oh, that's right. Brock Party.
Yeah, but other than that, it looks like
Did anybody think Brock was going to lose his cash in there?
I mean,
This is-
very possible.
the successful cash-in before that was Dean Ambrose in 2016.
Wow.
Yeah, so because we had Braun, we had Baron Corbin, and we had Brock.
Yeah.
I'm really surprised how bad they're like making Riddle lose. This is like at least the second week in a row he's lost. He seems like the type that Vince would like. I mean, with the MMA background.
I don't like Riddle. I'll be honest. I'm not a fan.
I like him as a wrestler. I don't like the character. I don't like the whole bro.
I can't stand the bro gimmick. And he,
Yeah, I don't
and he
like the
truly
gimmick, but
seems like a
I think
DB.
he's a wrestler.
I mean, sure, he's an athlete. It's fine.
Yeah, but I mean, there are some wrestlers that are just like, he's fine. Sorry, on the screen.
I mean, if you've been and I believe all three of us have been long-term wrestling fans. That's ultimately why we've all wound up together here talking about wrestling. But
I hate wrestling.
yeah, right? We've seen thousands of faces in that ring. I could do without Riddle.
Riddle's so good. Riddle's very good.
You could do without him. It's just personal opinion. So
Well, I mean,
I'm
you
no
know,
right
I
or
also-
wrong here.
I also was a fan of his when he was on the Ultimate Fighter.
I did
the TV
watch.
show.
I did watch many of those seasons. I fizzled out. How many years ago was he on?
Ooh, I don't know, but he had one of the filthiest knockouts in show history.
Did he? Do you know who the coaches were?
Ooh, that's a good question. I'm gonna look that up really quick.
While you do that, I'll give a little bit of my background. I was a big UFC MMA fan. I was a heavy supporter. With the launch of the Ultimate Fighter show was when ultimately, pun intended, I got into it. It was when a lot of the contract deals with merch, sponsorship, and things like that started going to only Reebok. And then the final straw was basically when they let go of Stitch. So if you don't know who that is in the MMA world, he was the Stitch guy. He stitch you up like a medic. He had his own.
I have the answer now.
He had his own vest and stuff, and they wanted him to wear like Reebok sponsored apparel too, and not have his personal vest that he's worn his entire career. And it was at that point, and I just saw the treatment, and then the low card talents, and then them giving people like Jones title shot after title shot when he had all his crap real life happening that he didn't, deserve all these awards. Anyways, that's when I fizzled out. What's the coaches before I continue
The
on
coaches were Forrest Griffin and Rampage Jackson.
that? Okay. So it was a heavyweight season, wasn't it? Was that heavyweights? Or was it two different weight classes?
No, it was middleweight.
Middleweight, okay.
They were light heavyweights as coaches.
Yes.
But, they always had the coaches a weight class above.
Okay.
So yeah, Matt Riddle's coach on the season was Rampage Jackson.
Was that the one where he punched through the door?
Yes, that is the season where he destroyed the door.
Okay, I have that on DVD. like I said,
if
I was
you
a
go
big
back
fan.
and watch it again, you'll see Matt Riddle short-haired Matt Riddle have one of the nastiest knockouts in the show's history, where the guy was just basically crying while he was knocked out.
Now, he got obviously signed to a UFC contract, which many of them do after the season, whether they win or lose. You're guaranteed a contract when you do win the show.
And he was very good in UFC, and the reason that it didn't work out is because Matt Riddle didn't know how to stop smoking weed.
I thought he had a mixed record, though. Did he have a winning record?
I believe he had a winning record. I'm going to look that one up too. But I'm pretty sure that he had a positive record and he was rising. But his problem was he wasn't passing the drug tests, which nowadays it doesn't even matter.
Right.
They're allowed to smoke weed if they want.
Which is hilarious that he's in WWE then, because they suspended Roman Reigns for freaking anti-anxiety medication that he was prescribed.
Well, they do get... So, from what I've heard from multiple podcasts, who was on that podcast? So, it was Enzo and Big Cass. They were on Chris Jericho's podcast. And Enzo was talking about it because obviously Enzo smokes a lot of weed.
No.
He said that, like Randy Orton will pay... So, they get fined like $1,000 per. Randy Orton, every year he'll go ahead and pay like $50,000 and be like, "Hey, this is for my next couple."
What?
That's what Enzo says. So I don't think he didn't work for the company, so I don't think he'd be wrong. So Matt Riddle was 8-3.
Okay, yeah, that's a good record.
Yeah, so he won out of his 8, he won 5 by decision. 1 by disqualification, 1 by submission, 1 by knockout.
Any notable names that he faced in that division? Because you said middleweight, right?
Yeah. Let's see here.
So he had to have come across one of the Diaz.
So he
Condit,
fought.
I think, is in that weight class.
A lot of his fights were on the.
Ultimate Fighter.
Yeah, the Ultimate Fighter was a bunch of them.
Yeah.
He fought Matt Brown.
Which is a good fighter.
And then everything else is kind of prelims.
I'm just curious.
Yeah, so he really didn't have many big name people that he fought, as far as I can see.
Well, I got some homework to do then. I'm gonna look
Because
this
by the
stuff up.
time him and Dana White got into it. Yeah, once him and Dana White got into it. So apparently, without his positive marijuana test, he would have held a record of 10-3, with a win streak of 5 consecutive victories.
So here's this again is going to highlight my dislike for not only Dana White, but the UFC as a company. I think they're a shit company because ultimately, here we go, pun again. You said that it didn't work out because of marijuana.
Yes.
John Jones, multiple DUIs, was on cocaine during championship fights, was awarded with more championship opportunities, was sent to rehab, went for a day, came out, had drunk driving, had all kinds of felonies.
He also got in a lot of trouble for steroid use as well, though.
Who didn't? So many on that roster has.
Yeah, but in the UFC, if you test positive for steroids, then it's an automatic loss.
It's a loss, sure, but they give you another fight. Look at Alistair Overeem.
Yeah, same with Brock Lesnar. He was planned on going back, but he couldn't pass.
His fight at 200 against Mark Hunt got overturned because they were both on some shit. Like, come on.
We need to get back to wrestling, guys.
I know. I could. This is my dislike for that company and how they're double standards, and it's just even what's his name from Ireland? Everyone loves this dude.
Conor McGregor.
Conor McGregor, like him and Diaz, all of them smoke. All of them had like felonies, like, and look at them. They're mega stars, mega contracts,
multi-millionaires.
It's bullshit. It's absolute bullshit. And that right there, I'll move on, but that right there, fuck UFC.
The final thing of the night was the moment of bliss with Randy Orton. And he comes out, and he won't sit down. He's just like, where is he? He's like, I know the Fiend is here somewhere. And Alexa's like, what? Basically just like, no, trying to talk to him. Then Drew McIntyre comes out. They're fighting. Alexa's sitting on the ring, the one corner of the ring, just laughing like hysterically, giggling and stuff. And then Randy tries to get away, and then the lights go out, and the Fiend's Randy's between the Fiend and McIntyre, and he runs away from Fiend towards McIntyre. And then the Fiend was gone.
And then Randy beat the hell out of Drew.
Yeah.
It ended with Randy beating Drew.
I mean, obviously they're building towards Survivor Series. I think, I don't know. I like Survivor Series, the event. It's a fun event, but ultimately, like, there are no major story matches with titles. Like, they're just kind of like you guys said a little bit ago. It's, the worlds colliding. SmackDown, Raw.
Yep.
Yeah. Yep.
Uh-huh.
They'll remind you about it too. Every time to show.
Do we want to highlight anything else from this week? Because we do got to get to our main feature.
No, just Jey.
Oh, SmackDown. We didn't talk about that at all.
I know. Do we want to run through anything important? Because we do got to get to our main segment.
Jey Uso stuff, like Cody was saying, was really good. I thought it was good.
Yeah, because he's aligned. He was forced to align with Roman.
He came out at the beginning, and Roman's like, by the end of the show, you will
Fall in
recognize
line.
me, and you'll fall in line. Yeah. And then at the end of the show, he had just beat Daniel Bryan to be on the SmackDown Survivor Series match. In the match, and Roman comes out, and he's standing there, and he's like, "I get it now. I get it. I'm with you. You're the head of the table. I'm with you. I love you." You know. And then Roman just looks at Daniel Bryan, and Jay looks over, and then he did he kicked him, I think, and then he did the Uso jump off the top. And then Roman looked at him again, and he threw him through the table, and Jay just kicked the shit out of Daniel Bryan.
Which I hear Daniel Bryan got hurt in that match, and he may be done for his career.
Oh, wow. I know this was going to be his last run, supposedly.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
unfortunate.
he's creative now. He's officially a part of the creative team.
Right, and he was who gave him a? It was Big E spoke out recently about that, actually thanking Daniel Bryan for allowing this push to happen, because he spoke
that
in his
was
favor.
on Corey Graves' podcast. What's that called? Beyond the Ring, Under the Ring, something like that. He
After the bell.
pretty much was praising Daniel Bryan for endorsing him, and that's what it's called.
ATB.
Which is crazy because I listen to it every week and I still can't think of the name.
I haven't listened to it in months.
Yeah, he was on this week.
Owens beat Ziggler to be on the SmackDown team. Bianca Belair beat Billie Kay and Natalya. She's on the women's, which is a good match. And I like Bianca. So
Oh, she's great. She's gonna be a star.
Murphy and that whole storyline continued. Mysterio's daughter said she loves him, and they all fought. It's not a great story, but it's not the worst thing. It's not retribution, at least.
So worthwhile should have watched then. Just nothing like life changing.
No, it was another episode of Raw and SmackDown.
Yeah.
SmackDown was the better show, I thought.
Yeah, and it's been
especially the Roman and Jay.
I do want to bring up one thing if we're segueing away from Raw and SmackDown before our main feature. Unless any final thoughts on that?
Nope.
So sometimes, fortunately / unfortunately, depending on your perspective of things, we get a glimpse into potential real life of wrestlers. I don't know how deeply you guys follow, not necessarily the dirt sheets, but columns that report information outside of shows. I don't know if you guys are already picking up what I'm putting down here, but are you guys familiar with Carl Anderson?
I love Carl Anderson.
Have you been familiar with their social media? Speaking of his and his wife's.
Yeah, so what his wife posted wasn't about him. Okay, so if you don't know what he's talking about, so Carl Anderson's wife, the hot Asian wife as he calls her, took a picture a few days ago of the words cheater written a couple times on his face and on his chest. Multiple people within the industry liked the picture. So he then posted a couple hours later that if you don't know the background behind it, and you went ahead and liked it anyway, you're pretty much dead to me.
Yeah, you're out of my life.
Apparently, they were talking about it was heat from a board game.
You know, that's what I initially read too, but I'm reading more that that's not the whole story.
From what I've seen, from what I've read, and I'm sure he'll talk about it on the Talkin' Shop this week, which I'll follow up with because I do listen to that podcast as well. From what I've heard, it was about a board game. And it was about the kids were in on the board game and everything. Because she did tweet out, like, the next day, something about her husband. But yeah, I think the internet took it for a loop and think that he's cheating on his wife.
Yeah, that's the story that has been potentially misconstrued then out of it because,
Well, it's taken down off of Instagram. I'm looking at her Instagram right now, and it's taken off.
his has more though. And
His
there is,
has-
yeah, because he had called her names via text message. Apparently, he hadn't been home in days, and there's some sort of reconciliation for him to come home to be there for his kids. And then apparently it was over Mario Kart, which was originally what was reported, not necessarily a board game. And then there was also speculation that he was mess in inboxes with people.
Well, there's nothing. That post is also taken down. The one that I was just talking about. He was saying
Yeah.
that if anybody liked it and didn't know the background story, they're dead to him.
Mm-hmm.
That is also off of social media.
Yeah, like I said, I don't know any more than that. It's just that was like, when I was scrolling through stuff, I'm like, what is happening? What is all this? So it sparked for one curiosity, and then two, I just wanted to know, and I figured you guys may have known or may have seen stuff. So this might be something that unfolds that we cover on the next one. It's not really wrestling, but it's unfortunate fascination with these people's lives.
Yeah, and like I said, I'm gonna listen to Talking Shop this week, which they do it every week, just like all these other podcasts, just like we do.
Right.
If it's something of importance, I'm sure he'll bring it up. Which that will come out tomorrow.
Yeah, so by our next episode, we
so
should
I'll
have a
have
lot more information.
Yeah.
Let's get into our main segment, though, here for our episode. I had selected my pay-per-view. Our next one, by the way, will be selected by you guys, the listeners. You can find that poll coming this week sometime. Each of us are going to submit 2 picks to add to that poll, and then you will pick the one out of those 6 to be the one we talk about next. So start thinking, boys, about which ones that you want to add to the list. I already have a couple in mind myself, and I hope you guys pick one of them. So, the one I picked, though, for today, if you didn't watch it, you should have. We're going to talk about Survivor Series, since it is November now, but we're going to travel back in time to the year 2012. What a year that was. What a good year that was. We're going to open it with a little package featuring the then WWE Champion CM Punk. He was made to look like a dominant, almost what would have been a day prior to a year reign at this point in that championship run. So it made him look from a dominant champ to a scared champion as he would be facing John Cena and Ryback in the main event later that night. What do you guys think about that package that they put together?
What did I think about the little package?
The little package.
The little package. The little package was nice. It knew how to work it.
We still talking about the same thing.
Yeah. The little package about CM Punk. Yeah.
Okay. Trevor, you want to talk about his package?
I didn't put any notes down for that. I don't remember. I was getting set up. I had to watch it today because I had computer issues during the week, so I was doing other stuff too.
That's
So
all
I
right.
don't remember the package at the beginning.
That's fine.
He doesn't.
It's a hype
Yeah,
video. Like they normally do. You don't know.
Yeah, they usually do really good on the hype.
So his package wasn't very memorable.
Nah.
Good Lord. You're fired. You're all fired.
Moving on.
Funk is on. No. Funkadactyls. Do you guys remember this?
Yes.
Yeah. What? It's incredible to go from a Funkadactyl to a historic women's champion. That to me is a success story.
Yeah, and the thing that I love about the whole Funkadactyl thing is that they just handed it off to Xavier Woods once Brodus didn't want it anymore.
Yeah. And they've used that music before too. They used it in the '90s, didn't they? Wasn't that Ernest the Cat Miller's music for a minute?
I want to say yes.
Somebody call my mama. So we open with that. My notes are, wow, we have come a long way with Naomi. And keep in mind, this is our opening contest. This is a Survivor Series match. They're just kicking off, like, the main show is Survivor Series match. It felt strange to open like this.
This was a bonus match. Was this not like hype? I wasn't watching at this time. Another one that I hadn't seen. So,
No, it was this match.
was this thrown together?
Well, no, it wasn't just thrown together. It did have a little bit of build to it. It was Team Brodus Clay versus Team Tensai.
Yeah. So they had a mini feud, from my understanding, heading into this. So we'll get the Brodus Clay's team. Tyson Kidd, which should have been a bigger success than it was. Injury obviously didn't help him out. As well as Justin Gabriel. He is one of the ones from Nexus that really didn't have a moment to shine like everyone else.
Yep.
And that's truly unfortunate because he went to other shows outside of WWE, other companies, and did moderately okay. I believe he was even in... Was he in Lucha Underground for a minute too?
I don't remember. I was a big fan of Lucha Underground, and I really don't remember Justin Gabriel in there.
On my notes for Justin Gabriel, I have who? Like, I didn't know this guy at all.
Respectful.
He was good though. Like, he was a really good talent. Do I think he would have been like champion? Probably not. But he was good.
Yeah, he just didn't get the utilization that he should have gotten.
Which Sin Cara was this one? The first one or the second one?
This is the first Sin Cara. Which, that thing too, I'm like, 2012, holy crap, we've had a Sin Cara character on WWE television this long? Like, that blew my mind. I know it's been even longer than that, but that blew my mind.
Did it also blow your mind that we've had the same Rey Mysterio character for this long?
No, I mean, he's obviously, I watched in the 90s WCW, so like, but this version of Mysterio, if you're speaking on, yeah, it's been the same. Obviously, he was gone for quite a while and then came back, but so yeah, Sin Cara, Rey Mysterio, that rounds out Team 1, and oof, what a weird team.
Yeah. No, I mean, so Brodus Clay's team wasn't really that weird. Tensai's team was a little bit more strange. He just had 2 tag teams.
He did. So let's talk about Tensai. For those that don't know, A-Trade, Prince Albert. This dude is, at this point, at the end of his career. He's been around a long time, had a lot of weird gimmicks. And this is the cherry on top for weird gimmicks.
Well, this is who he was in Japan.
No, and it makes sense to close out his career basically how he found first success.
Yeah.
But, it didn't work here. At least I don't think so.
No, I didn't think so either.
So the other 2 tag teams, Primo Epico with Rosa Mendez, and then the Primetime Players.
Were they heels?
That's the
when
thing.
I watched, they were faces.
No, Primetime Players were heels at this time.
Okay.
But they weren't good heels. Like,
no.
Team seemed very random. What I put down here.
No, like, Darren Young is very good, though.
Oh, I liked them when I came back and started watching. And I thought they were both really good, and I still think Titus is good, and I still think he's just being punished by Vince because of that whole thing, you know.
The slide?
The whole where he's like held Vince back, playing around, like let the lady go, let the daughter go first.
Yeah.
But he also does a lot of admin stuff for WWE. He's an ambassador.
Yeah, he does a lot of charity stuff, yeah.
Yeah, he's an ambassador for WWE, so he can't be being punished that hard if he's being given that role.
He's not young either. He's in his mid-40s, I think. Mid to late 40s.
Yeah, he's up there in age.
Still looks good.
I mean, tried to
but
give him realization with Titus Worldwide, but that really didn't get off the ground.
nah, they tried. It was basically like a precursor to what is working
Purpose.
with Hurt Business. Yeah, it's a much better gimmick of the same nature.
But you know what did get over? Titus Worldwide
But
when he slid under the ring after during the Greatest Royal Rumble or whatever the hell that was called.
that poor guy. That's gonna be forever in highlight reels with Santino and his quick elimination. Like this, forever. Every Royal Rumble, they're gonna highlight like the accolades, and then they'll do the comedy reel, and that'll be forever in it. Poor guy.
Yeah.
One of the notes I have, kicking off the show, the first thing I noticed is trio commentary between King, JBL, and Michael Cole is just too much. Like, they were on something else during the show. I don't know if you guys were really listening in, but the animosity felt real. Like, Cole and JBL specifically. King was just in an awkward seat being stuck between these two. And just some of the remarks, JBL had blatant racist remarks during the show. It was weird stuff.
First time ever for those three to be together, they said. And it was also the 15th anniversary of the Montreal Screwjob, which they referenced.
Wow.
When Tyson Kidd put the sharpshooter on, and then I think it was Waller or JBL, I can't remember which. It was like, and Brad will probably bitch about that too.
Yeah, I heard that too. It was just weird stuff. Like, because this was after Bret Hart had already made like things up with WWE. Like, everything was fine. Because that happened in 2010. He came back. So like that was strange jab. I don't understand.
It was Brodus Clay's team, but he was the first one eliminated.
Yeah. And I noted here, too, there was a weird slam that Clay did to Tensai. There was a bad angle. It just looked botched. Like, he just almost just dropped him. Like, it was sloppy. So it was a good thing he was out quick.
Agreed.
I said the heavy... Go ahead.
Play.
Say it again.
I never really saw the hype in Brodus Clay.
He didn't seem very good. He just seemed kind of slow and didn't look powerful to me. But, like, you got the big guys that are slow, but then they slam somebody and look really hard. And he just didn't.
Yeah, he was a comedy act. I mean, that was the best This is a repackaging of him, too, before they got rid of him. And oddly enough, not really, because we spoke on this in prior episodes if you're a frequent listener of our stuff. He went to Impact, and they made him somewhat of a star there during his short time there. I believe even potential champion. I don't remember specifically, though. And so he's another one, too, that they try to throw shade back at WWE to make it seem like WWE lost a major player when they didn't.
No, he wasn't that great.
No. And this match showcases just sloppy stuff. I noted that the heavyweights from both teams were out pretty quickly. They were the first out.
Yeah.
And then it became just a fast-paced tag match between some of the high flyers and luchas, if you will.
Yeah, I enjoyed
He was
that.
the only one eliminated from his team.
The ending was nice. Poor Darren Young. Basically everyone, Sin Cara, Justin Gabriel, Kid and Mysterio, all got to do their signatures and finishers on Darren Young before picking up the win.
I give this one 2 stars. I didn't really care for it. It was maybe okay as an opener, but did nothing to really get the crowd hyped, I thought. I mean, the faces won, so that probably got the crowd a little hyped, but I didn't like that.
I was leaning 2. I gave it a 3 because of the ending to send the fans into the show happy. So the kickoff. Otherwise, it would have been a 2. I thought it was a nice recovery at the end to slide it just to a 3 for me.
Yeah, I gave it a 3. I thought it was pretty enjoyable. It wasn't anything to write home about, but it was a pretty enjoyable match.
Yeah. We then go to a backstage attack before the next match between Caitlyn and Eve Torres. Weird.
And this is where you get your racist remark from JBL.
What? I mean, obviously we don't have to say exactly. I just what even triggered that?
What? Who knows? Ask JBL.
Yeah, it's just weird. I'm gonna put it out there. I don't like JBL. And
yeah, it's understandable.
he's just an asshole. If you've been a long time wrestling fan, there's just a lot of people that don't like him too, and just shit that he's done to people.
Literally, Brawl for All was made so he would get knocked out.
Yeah,
that was the whole reason Brawl for All got made, was because they thought that. Well, I don't want to say they. Vince Russo wanted to see JBL, who was cocky backstage and said he could beat down anybody backstage. Vince pretty much told him, put your money where your mouth is, and made Brawl for All, which ended with a lot of injuries, and it was probably a bad idea in general.
Yeah.
But
horrible, I know. They also wanted to push Dr. Death or whatever the hell his name was.
Yeah, Steve Williams.
Yeah.
Yeah, then Bart Gunn, he's the one that won it all.
Yeah, Bart Gunn went to face Butterbean,
and he ended up getting burned because he won the whole thing. He ended up having to fight Butterbean at Mania and getting destroyed.
that was fun to watch.
Fight.
That was fun. I enjoyed that. But yeah,
I don't understand how you have something like, hey, this is a shoot fight, winner, whatever, and you get mad at somebody for winning it and decide to bury him out of the company. Which I don't know if you've ever seen Dark Side of the Ring on that. They had a Brawl for All episode.
Yeah.
Where they interviewed him, and he's very salty about it, saying that Brawl for All is the reason why his career ended up the way it was and why he got buried at Mania and pretty much got released shortly after that.
Yeah, he didn't stay much longer.
He beat the golden boy of the company, like Trevor was saying there. They were trying to push Dr. Doom or whatever his name was.
Yeah.
And
Dr. Death. Yeah.
He ended up getting knocked out by Bart Gunn, and he got buried for it. But that's not what we're here to talk about.
Right. There are other moments, though, to look back on. If you guys remember ECW One Night Stand, when WWE tried to launch their own version of ECW to capitalize on that branding, there was a moment where Blue Meanie basically got the shit beat out of him by JBL in the ring during a show. Like, real fight. Not really a fight where it was more just JBL punching the shit out of him. And he's just a dick, okay? That's all we gotta say. He's a dick. I don't like him.
It wasn't as bad as Big Cass beating the crap out of a little person.
No. Oh, God.
Moving on.
So, yes, the butterfly belt. Weird segue here. Let's go into that. Divas Championship. Two contenders that really should not be fighting for a belt shaped like a butterfly. They deserved a little bit more. Caitlyn, I mean, holy crap. I forgot how just tough, like physically, she looked. And Eve Torres selling an interesting, like, character here. Like, is she prom queen? Like, what is she doing? Like, I don't really understand what the showboating was. I don't also remember what the build was to this either from back then.
This was in the middle of a great reign by Eve. I mean, she had this title for a very long time at this point.
Right, and she's a great talent, but I'm just saying the character that she was doing for this, I mean, this show, what we're talking about. Just the waves, like I don't know, it was weird. So it was very contrasting styles. Caitlyn was very dominant in this match. One of the notable spots was a good use of the apron. to trip and then turn the advantage for the ending. So I felt it was a really good, solid ending for Eve to make a comeback. And then if you watch this match, Andrea Lana even recognized this too. The pinfall, she was cupping her tit. Anyone catch that?
Nope.
Oh,
Go back and watch it now. Just straight up cupping it in the pin. Like, didn't need to. Like, the position of how she was pinning her, that, there's, I mean, I guess leverage, but no. It was just in the camera angle, too, just right there. Like, I don't know how you guys missed that.
Yeah, I just don't think I was paying attention to that. I think it was just the pinfall. I mean, I really wasn't that into this match, honestly.
I found this match kind of boring.
Yeah.
That's what I had. Kind of short.
Like you said, it had a good spot with the use of the apron, but other than that,
I did like
this
that.
match was pretty blah. I
Glad
gave
they're
it a 2.
taking women matches a little more serious, even if they're not giving the storylines they need. For the most part, I mean, obviously Bayley and Sasha was an exception there. I gave it a 2 as well.
I gave it a 3, and I shouldn't have, but I give it a 3 because I want to review these in a vacuum, and that's what I said going into these. But I gave it a 3 because I know what was happening around this time, and especially for a championship that's shaped like a butterfly. These two were given a short match, but the pacing and the storytelling in it was pretty solid. So I gave it a 3 as an average, match. It did what it needed to do, and I think in some ways exceeded expectations, especially back then. So a 3 I felt was deserved for this one.
Yeah, my only notes for that match was the women's division has come a long way.
It has. It truly has. And not too shortly after this either. That's what's really interesting to note. So, like the people that are stars now, I mean, they were on developmental just getting signed when they were watching these matches on TV. So, if that's not motivation enough to be, difference makers in the division, I don't know what is. Backstage promos for the two teams coming up. I loved this segment only for Orton just sitting there, not giving a shit about anything.
And then just telling Mick Foley that he hates him.
Yeah, like that exchange.
He's ready.
This was solid heel. And, I don't know if this was acting or not, because there were many years, and we've talked about this before, Orton just kind of floats sometimes.
Yeah, but Orton has always, at least on screen, has never been a fan of Mick Foley, especially after his hardcore match with him.
Oh, he punted him down the steps?
Yeah.
Evolution.
They've always had very bad relationship.
Which, hey, is that continuity?
A little bit.
Wow. Look at how easy that is.
Crazy how it works.
But yeah, I liked that. I loved, I'm a fan of Orton. I'm a fan of his work. And just this showcases his forte, being an asshole heel. And like I said, I don't know if it's a stretch for him in his acting ability. Because from my understanding, he's kind of an asshole in real life. But he plays this character so incredibly well. We then go into the United States Championship match. Cesaro, your champion, against the challenger, R-Truth.
Yeah, I'll say I enjoyed this. I love throwing back and seeing Cesaro actually being taken serious as an actual singles threat. And remembering, hey, he's had singles runs, not world championship runs, but he's had some great singles runs in the past.
And he has a first name.
Yeah, and R-Truth's attire. I loved his attire, the Little Jimmy attire.
Yeah, I recognize that too.
Little Jimmy looks like Ness off of Super Smash Bros.
Yeah.
A little bit.
I have in the notes, it's weird seeing Cesaro being called Antonio, and I started watching again, he was just Cesaro at that point.
Yeah, and I believe he was called Claudio in NXT.
I think so. Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah. But yeah, this match was very good. I did like the fast pace of the fast pacedness of this match. R-Truth is, like we say all the time whenever an R-Truth segment comes up, R-Truth is extremely good. And this 8 years ago furthered that how good R-Truth actually is in the ring.
I felt it was a little short, but quick. I mean, they were doing a lot of quick moves, but the match itself was good.
Yeah, it was definitely a short match, but it was entertaining and got where they needed to go with it.
Yeah, I gave this one a 3.
Yeah, I give it a 3 as well.
Some of my notes on this, I said showcasing the strength of Cesaro, but it didn't showcase enough of the quickness of Truth. You talk about, obviously, him being a tenured talent. We have talked about that before. There was a moment where an awkward uppercut went into a sloppy pin. It's like there was a miscommunication in the match. Commentary said something about it too, like that's a unique way to pin or do something. And it was just a weird match, I felt. It didn't showcase the Cesaro that we know today or some of his matches after this. And it didn't showcase the strengths of R-Truth. I gave it a 2 out of 5.
Ooh, very critical on that one, I see.
Just because I know, and I've been a big fan of Cesaro, I know there's better work. It was just sloppy, and I don't think this is the best of his matches. And
yeah, I think the only reason I disagree with that is because we're actually seeing a successful single Cesaro, which we don't get that anymore, which he severely deserves.
No, I agree.
So it's just nice to see that again.
Yeah. I just think he had better. Other matches were better than this one for him. This didn't showcase his strengths. And there were moments with singles runs, too, that had way better matches.
I do think this was one of the best neutralizers he's done. Some of the neutralizers he does nowadays look kind of sloppy, mainly because he's doing it on bigger guys now. But it just looked very good on a guy like R-Truth.
Do you guys remember Tout? No?
No, I actually have on my notes, what the fuck is Tout?
So Tout, you remember Vine, you remember all these like short messaging, like video things that everyone was trying to do? And we've seen other things be successful since, the most recent being TikTok. Which that is facing its own adversary right now. But for the greater part of the last decade, we've had social media in the form of quick video messaging, and Tout was really heavily, it might even been WWE's product itself, if not, it was heavily endorsed by them. But they were basically doing promos building up The Rock's return, which this leads into a whole disaster scenario in the wrestling world, which I'm, with many fans, are still pissed off at. But only in wrestling can you be well, I shouldn't say only, because this happens in the world. It's capitalism at its finest. But notably in wrestling, can you be someone like The Rock and just say, hey, whoever wins in the main event, I'm just facing one of you for the title at Royal Rumble, okay? That's just how it's going to be. Okay. So Tout was basically this video thing that they were pushing to sell this return angle. Any thoughts on any of that?
No.
Okay.
No, like I said, I didn't know what it was. I figured it was a social media thing, but I don't really care about social media. Like, I don't have Twitter. Well, I have one, but I did it for a contest, and I've never done anything with it.
You're fine. I barely use Twitter myself, so. We then go into an AJ Lee segment, which, man, definitely missed having her as a character on TV. with the storyline that's happening here, she is yet again with someone. An angle with Cena was happening, and then we get Vicky Guerrero with her loud mouth. But man, she's good at selling her character though too. I got to give her credit.
Yeah, this whole segment was kind of cringy, honestly.
Yeah.
But we did get the debut of somebody else that I forgot about.
We did, and holy cow, has that individual changed so much in 8 years.
I did not recognize her at first until they
Yeah.
said it.
I mean,
Yeah,
she went from
to me-
cruiserweight to heavyweight as far as like her build.
Yeah, she definitely doesn't look nearly the same. But the Superfly
Nailed it.
Yeah, looked very good.
I thought it was a good comedy segment having Tamina debut with this. It's incredible, like you said. She was able to, being the daughter of Superfly Jimmy Snuka, for those that don't know. Like she's a good talent, and it's one of those things I don't think they use her properly. Because ultimately, I think she, even like watching behind the scenes stuff, she seems just like a generally decent person too. So it's unfortunate they don't reward her.
Now I'm kind of I kind of thought about it a little bit because now, for those of you that don't know, Vicky Guerrero is a part of AEW, and she manages Nyla Rose. So this made me think about it a little bit, and it's kind of very similar to Tamina and Nyla Rose are very similar in a lot of ways. So this is kind of going back to what she's kind of already had practicing.
Yeah, there's a comfort level there saying, hey, this worked on television. Let's try this, but with this talent. I mean, you see that kind of puzzle swapping, the piece swapping of the puzzle happen all the time in wrestling. It's just how wrestling is they're cogs and you swap things out and keep it going, right? There's only so many storylines you can tell in wrestling. That's why I think a lot of long-term wrestling fans get burned out and they take breaks, or they find stuff predictable because you've seen it. Next segment, we go backstage with another individual I dislike, Josh Matthews. He's blah. I'm sorry, I said it. He's interviewing Paul Heyman to hype up Punk for his match later in the show. What do you guys think?
I thought you were talking about Paul Heyman. I'm like, you don't like Heyman?
No, Heyman's fine. I don't like Josh Matthews.
Like, Heyman is amazing on the mic.
Yeah, no, he's good at what he does.
Yeah,
There's a reason.
Yeah, I didn't even remember who was doing the interview and focused on Heyman.
I just don't like Josh Matthews, so anytime I can shit on him, I do. Sorry. It's not like Josh Matthews is going to listen to this podcast.
Well, what ifs?
What ifs? Hey, if you are, I challenge you for your job, sir. I know how to transition into a commercial break, unlike you.
Heyman was great on the mic. He got the pipe across like he always does.
Yeah, no, he sold it. I was interested. I was ready for the main event, especially after the show I'd seen so far. We then go to a promo for Big Show and Sheamus for the world title. Talk about behemoths in this match. These are big guys about to throw down. And the side effect of that is you sometimes can get a slow, lackluster match.
I think this surpassed that a little bit. I actually liked the match for what it was worth. Even the ending I wasn't too upset about, which usually I am when it comes to pay-per-view matches that don't get real finishes and end in disqualification or count out or stuff like that. But this one actually was pretty well done. The one thing that I do hate, and I've never really liked about Big Show, is how terrible his punch is. His it's so slow. Like Lacey Evans does it better.
Yeah.
I just don't get how it's so effective, and that's a
Because it's
finisher.
the size of a lunchbox is what they used to hype up. Imagine
Yeah,
a
and
lunchbox hitting you.
it just goes so slow and never looks like it makes contact.
Well, imagine if it did, though.
Yeah, if they could execute it better, if Big Show knew how to actually execute it.
He's just a big man. Like, that's got to be hard to do.
So hard.
Did he learn from Shane McMahon?
Yeah, could you imagine him throwing jabs like Shane
the worst
O'Mac?
punches ever.
I don't know. From what I've heard, Shane McMahon is pretty stiff. That's what Kurt Angle says, at least.
Yeah, he doesn't hold much
Obviously,
back.
His punches look bad, though. They don't look like real punches at all.
I think he learned a little bit with that Kurt Angle match because he got a couple receipts.
He did. They hit each other.
Yeah, they actually were swinging at each other.
I take it you watched the Kurt Angle guest appearance on Stone Cold's podcast.
I have.
Yeah, that was a really good one to watch if you guys haven't, by the way. You know where he learned the punches, though? He learned it from the Marine streets and his posse.
Of Norwich.
And his posse. The Main Street posse.
Yeah, the posse that wears polos and khaki pants.
Oh, pretentious ass crew. It worked.
Love it.
It worked. Oh, man.
But yeah, for what it's worth, I enjoyed this match. I think it was one of the better matches on the card, even with the finish.
Did we watch the same thing?
Like the finish.
I mean, I had it as like a high 3. Like out of all the other matches, I did like this match.
Yeah, I gave it a 3 because it was better than the first part of the card so far.
Man. I said, why didn't Big Show turn face and heel multiple times during the course of the match? So for those that don't know about the Big Show, he's notorious for being the flip-floppy face turn, heel turn kind of guy. Maybe that's just comical to me.
Yeah, I think this time frame of Big Show was one of the best in his career, though.
Also, Sheamus had him up on his shoulders, and I was just like, that is some strength right there, because that is a big boy.
And the white noise.
Yeah.
Which I had a question about that. When did he stop doing white noise?
He still does it.
Does he? I feel like he doesn't hit it that much. Or maybe I'm just not paying attention.
A lot when he was tagging with Cesaro. That was their finisher.
Really?
Yeah, he would hold the white noise, and then Cesaro would go up on the top turnbuckle and push them both down.
Guess I'm not paying enough attention. Holy shit. Okay.
Sure.
Oh. Oops.
What was your star rating on this?
Mine, I gave it a 2.
I can see that it was the best, but I still just thought it was better than the rest. So 3 was.
Travis being so critical on his own pay-per-view.
I know, and I was excited for this one because I thought this was a good one, like from my memory. Because I glanced at the card, I'm like, okay, this is a good one to talk about. I didn't like the finish, and then just ultimately overall, like I think that put me from a 3 to a 2.
Yeah, I mean, I usually hate finishes like that, but I thought this one was well done. Big Show pulling in the ref, and the ref taking a bro kick that actually looked real. It looked like a pretty violent bro kick.
Yeah.
To the side of his head. And then a random ref turning around and counting the 3, and then they end up disqualifying Big Show anyway. And then the beatdown afterward I thought was great. Big Show begging for Sheamus to stop. My only question about that was, and I have it in my notes, is the chair that Sheamus was using had yellow tape around the legs. I don't know if you guys noticed.
I did. So that was like a
gimmick chair, and that's
gimmick chair.
That's what they use as like signal. Hey, this is the gimmick chair. Use the yellow tape.
Yeah. I noticed that with some of the props sometimes. Ladders have that. Like the one with this tape or this is the pre-cut one. I understand,
like if you use like black tape or gray tape or something that like isn't as bright and noticeable as
That was very...
neon yellow tape on the
Yeah.
bottom of the chair.
They ran out of other colors. They're like, screw it, just do it. Nobody will notice.
Yeah, I
Cool.
mean, I enjoyed it for what it's worth.
Yeah.
The whole thing, top to bottom, the match was pretty good. And then the beatdown afterward, how Sheamus was beating Big Show down. Big Show's begging for him to stop, and then catching a bro kick to finish it off, and ended with Big Show crawling out. Thought it was well done.
It was fine. It was fine.
More than a 2.
I'm sticking with my 2.
You think it was just as bad as the women's match?
I gave the
thought it was
women's match a
part of that?
3.
Oh, did you? What else did you give it to? You gave something else a 2.
I gave Cesaro and R-Truth a 2.
And I liked that match too.
Yeah, that's fine. You know, it was really fine seeing a promo for the Attitude Era DVD. That's what happened next after this match.
Yeah. No, I mean it was brought some memories.
I mean, I bought the DVD, so...
Do you actually have the DVD?
I do.
Do you know where it's at?
I know it's boxed up right now. But
Everything else.
it's just like, yeah, everything else I'm moving. But that is one of my centerpieces of my collecting. As I've mentioned before, I am an avid wrestling collector. I've been collecting tapes. I started on VHS. I've worked my way to DVD and Blu-ray. But I do collect these compilations as well. Even though I have 97% of the DVDs, the pay-per-views on DVD, VHS, or Blu-ray. These compilations ultimately cover stuff like from Raws and other things, and I love documentaries. So for me, and this was the first of a few volumes that they did for the Attitude Era too, because obviously they're going to try to get every last drop out of that era. But I do have this DVD, long story short. When I get unpacked, I'll take a picture and send it to you.
Well played.
Side note, too, AEW, when we spoke on this, I asked you a question on this a while back. I don't know if it was part of this podcast or just on air for NAW, which you can catch, by the way, normally on Tuesdays and Thursdays, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here, twitch.tv/JosephNerdAcumen. But I asked you when and if AEW is going to be releasing their pay-per-views on DVD. And they are. They have 5 events available now for purchase. They range from $19.99 to $24.99 on their website. And if you buy 3 or more, you get 10% off. AEW.
Interesting.
AEW, pay me for that spot. Come on, please. Or just send me the DVDs. If you're a listener, too, if you want to send me those DVDs.
Just give us a code. Just give us a code for discounts.
Yeah, give me a code for discount. Something. Our listeners, hey, I'm a fan of wrestling. I need to add to my collection. Help a guy out here. If you want to donate to the channel, donate a DVD.
We do have somebody on the team that has been to the first episode and their first pay-per-view. So,
which the first pay-per-view is one of the DVDs that they're releasing. I'm assuming every event will get released, but that one is available for purchase. And Andrew Lana says, you have every DVD. I do not have every DVD. That is a lie. Would I have liked to have had every DVD? Yes. I do not have every DVD. I do have enough for 2 bookshelves full, though. That's a fact. I have a problem, guys. I'm a collector, okay?
Lana facts on Sundays.
On Sundays. I like wrestling, okay? It was the first thing that I ever started collecting was wrestling tapes. I collect a bunch of other stuff, but never was I ever committed to collecting anything else like I am with wrestling tapes.
Since we're on the topic of collectibles, I would really like if AEW could get their action figures back in the stores, because I still haven't been able to grab one because they're never in stock.
Check their website, and they're doing a contest right now for a ring set.
I have the ring set, and I have the AEW Championship. But
you have a replica of that?
It's not it's a Walmart toy one.
It's still cool.
Yeah. So I have both of those, but the only thing that they never have in stock is any of the action figures, so I can't get any of them.
Check their
And
website.
I
So
want all of them for collector's purposes.
look on Amazon as well.
Yeah, they're just extremely overpriced.
Well, yeah,
Anywhere besides Walmart.
yeah. It's the sad side effect of collecting. Sometimes you have to pay a premium if you really want something, or you got to
Yeah,
know somebody that's willing to trade.
There's 5 action figures and can't get any of them.
eBay. Somebody will sell them.
I can't even imagine how much they'd be on eBay.
If you want them bad enough.
That's true. I'll eventually go.
Listeners,
But anyway.
if you guys have those or know anybody that has those action figures, talk to us. Cody needs them. Help him
I
out.
would love to have them.
Help him out today. So segueing from the Attitude Era, we have our traditional Survivor Series match. The main one for this particular pay-per-view. We have Team 1, Alberto. My cat is looking at me. And everyone just shut off the podcast. Del Rio. You guys remember this guy, right? Isn't he in trouble right now?
I never liked him.
I'm pretty sure he's in prison.
Ooh, yikes.
Pretty positive he's in prison.
Yeah, look that one up if you want to know what he did.
Never a fan and always hated his finisher.
I thought he was fine. Like I didn't hate Del Rio, and I thought his
My favorite part of him was Dolph Ziggler cashing in on him.
No, I got one better for you. Edge's final match before he came back all these years later at WrestleMania, smashing his car on stage after he retained his championship.
That's a good one as well.
It was a damn good one. And little did we
You
know
know
that
that-
was the last Edge match for a long, long time.
Finisher where he has the guy upside down and they have to hold themselves up in the corner. I'm like, that makes no sense. Why would you do that? So he could stomp on your face.
Hold on, let me hold your hand while you walk the ropes and then slap me in the back of my neck.
Well, see,
Oh.
at least with
Oh.
that one, you're holding on.
Oh.
The Undertaker could be holding you. I'm
What?
not saying it's a perfect thing, but
What?
What?
that one you actually have to hold yourself up for like however long just so he can stomp down on you, and just like it just never makes sense.
Wrestling. It doesn't
Yeah,
make
there's quite
sense.
issues that don't make sense.
There's a lot that don't make sense. A lot. Like most of Undertaker's moves, actually.
Yeah.
Anyways, Sandow, Damian Sandow, which didn't they drop his first name for a little while too and just called him Sandow?
Yeah, and one thing I wanted to point out with that during his entrance, we got to see the wonderful Cody Rhodes drop on his neck.
Yeah, that was a nasty move.
Forgot about that.
Yeah. Poor
He was
Cody.
replaced by David Otunga.
Yep, he had an interesting run. He was, I felt he was the odd one out from Nexus, from that whole angle, and he found himself on commentary after many years of unsuccessful wrestling. But didn't he win the tag champs with John Cena?
I believe so.
He was that character was weird.
I enjoyed Otunga.
I did not enjoy him on commentary. It was really
No,
boring.
not on commentary, but as a wrestler, I did enjoy him.
I mean, he's still employed today. Like, that's odd. He's one that you think they would cut just because he's generic.
Agreed.
A guy that I missed, but I'm glad he's on commentary for NXT, Wade Barrett. He was good. I really liked him. And then Mr. Money in the Bank at the time, Dolph Ziggler, which I loved the storyline that they were building up to with him. Foley then comes out as captain for his team. That is the tag team champions, Daniel Bryan and Kane, which this was a wonderful storyline arc for both of them. The Intercontinental Champion, Kofi, Miz, and then Orton.
And don't forget, Kofi is Jamaican at this point.
Oh, that's right. He still was. Yep, you know.
He's still Jamaican.
It's the SOS. God, that
I
was
know
so
you're not
weird.
a fan of JBL, but him making fun of Cole always saying vintage was pretty good during this.
And then he shifted it and was calling it classic for, who was he calling classic? Miz? Classic Miz?
Yeah.
JBL sucks, though. God. So this match, basically, this is how it played out. Sandow was quickly eliminated. He wasn't really used very well in this one. It's probably because he was... I don't know. I don't have an answer. I don't know what direction they were going with him at this point. I just have he was misused. Kane was eliminated by Dolph after distraction with Bryan. It was a nice elimination. Basically, what I said for this match for my notes, besides who eliminated who and why, was really it was just a steady pace throughout. I felt everyone had their nice exchanges, their spots. It seemed very balanced throughout the match, and it was good pacing.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's what we get in a lot of good Survivor Series matches is everybody gets their spots in. It's never slow. And it just keeps pace the entire time, which this one lived up to that. I did like the you called it a distraction, but how Team Foley was never, even from that promo earlier in the night, they were never really together as a unit. And it showed throughout the match, not just with Daniel Bryan and Kane, but also with Randy Orton and Miz.
They were never on the same page.
Yeah.
Miz was the fourth guy on the team. That's what the storyline was. I think they said the universe voted him on there or something like that.
Yeah, he was voted onto the team.
Yeah. The one thing that did surprise me that I didn't remember, the pacing, like I said, was good. It wasn't a landslide victory as it came down to Ziggler and Orton. The ending shocked me.
Yeah, which they had a good exchange at the end with Ziggler pretty much just laid out in the corner as he just went shoulder first into the corner.
Mm-hmm.
Randy Orton setting up the RKO, which you would expect him to hit it there, but had a nice back and forth. And when Randy's setting up a punt kick to end it, Dolph Ziggler hits a nice super kick.
Yeah, that was solid too. I love the setup because I knew it was coming with the punt. I'm like, oh, this is over.
Yeah,
because I didn't look at the results beforehand. I wanted to relive the event. I just looked at the card. I didn't look at like who won what leading into this. So for me, I'm like, okay, Orton picks up the win, the punt. Yeah, it's expected here. Continue his, smug heel run.
and
But
Dolph jumped up so quick.
Yeah,
So quick. Just played possum and hopped up extremely fast, hit the super kick, ended the match.
yeah, and I was shocked. I'm like, this, and he goes for the pin and wins. I'm like, no way is he getting a clean, quick pin like that after a super kick. But he did. I was like, okay, yeah, I like it. 4 out of 5.
Yeah, I gave this one a 4 out of 5 as well. I did really enjoy this match. I always enjoy Survivor Series matches when they're done properly.
And this one was.
4 out of 5 is what I gave it.
Yeah.
So, I did like Foley using Mr. Sacco.
Yeah.
Ricardo, whatever his name is.
Rodriguez.
Del Rio's announcer.
Alberto.
Oh, God, here we go again.
You only get one. Any other notes for that one?
No, it was just a good match overall. Definitely missed
Best
some of
match
those
of the night
guys.
so far.
Yeah.
Yes.
I do miss some of those guys, like Wade Barrett in the ring and Otunga.
I like Sandow when he was doing with Miz.
Hey, Sandow became a champion in NWA, so.
He did. Was it him and Axel? A tag team before he left? Or who was with Axel when they were doing the mock gimmick?
It was. He was.
Because one of them dressed up as Hogan, and then Hogan had all his racist ass shit come to light, and then they quickly dumped that.
Well, when he was mocking, that was with the Miz.
Was that with? Okay. No.
Yeah,
That's
that
when
was
he
with
was
the Miz when he
mirroring
was
Miz
mocking.
and doing that, but they had another thing where it was a comedy angle for Axel. It was Axel and somebody. Was it Sandow?
It was Sandow. It
Okay.
was.
Yeah, it was Sandow, but that wasn't the mocking gimmick that he had.
Well, they dressed up as talents. It was like only a short stunt. Because one was like Macho Man one week, one was Hulk Hogan.
It was parody. Yeah, they were parodying it with different
Yeah.
older wrestlers.
Yeah, it was very short,
Yeah,
and then they stopped doing that. Speaking of weird parody things, I don't know if this is a proper segue for that, but WWE Films, remember, I don't know how many of those things are coming out now, but they were going heavy at this time for WWE Films, and there was a film called The Day.
The Day?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, are you talking about the trailer that they showed?
Yeah, the trailer. I felt that was
Yeah, I
weird.
never watched the movie.
Yeah, I was just saying, I don't think I've ever seen
Never seen it.
the movie. So go watch The Day. There you go. More tout promos continue here, hyping up The Rock again, competing at the Rumble. And then we segue into a promo for the main event featuring a lot of Brad Maddox, which he had a short run.
This was very similar to the other promo. It was almost the exact same thing, just a little bit extended.
Yeah.
So it was the little promo, just it was extended with Blue Chew.
Yeah, basically, just to add more for it.
Yeah, add more Brad Maddox. And that was about it.
Which he was pivotal for pivotal. Good Lord, can't talk tonight. He was the reason this all came into play. He was
no comment.
Well, yeah, I think I know where you're going with that.
I know him for one thing and one thing only.
Yikes! Let's turn the page to the match at hand.
Oh, I
here.
see what you did there.
What are you talking about? We're going to the match at hand.
Uh-huh.
It's time to move on to a new day here. A new match.
Stop it. Stop.
What?
Trevor, are you getting this? Because I'm understanding all of his innuendos.
I get it.
Can I be the director here, or are you the cameraman? What's going on?
All right, let's turn to a new day.
Yes, it is. WWE Championship match, Punk the champion against challengers Ryback and Cena in a triple threat match. Oh, man. I liked the start. I felt it was a nice little cut and chase for Punk saying, hey, you two figure it out, but they weren't letting that happen. And then it turned into that happening with Cena and Ryback. He's new, by the way, Ryback. They need to feed him more. Fighting over beating up Punk. As your usual during this time frame and for most of his career, in the later years notably too. Mixed crowd for Cena. Let's go Cena. Cena sucks chance. My biggest notes here was it was a normal triple threat where often the odd one out does rest outside the ring.
Yep.
I like the breakups. There was a lot of good, like, close ones. And it seemed more real than, I got to hold. They hold for the last second, then they dive.
The notable breakup I had on there was the elbow drop from Punk when Cena was trying to submit Ryback. And they were hyping it up for the first time ever. And then elbow drop right in the back of Cena.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. It was very traditional triple threat match. But I did enjoy. I kind of forgot how dominant they made Ryback in these times. He had a nice shell shock to CM Punk, and then instantly another one to John Cena, which we all know it got broken up. But yeah, the match overall was good.
What was Ryback's original character name when he was in Nexus? Or even
I
before
don't
that?
remember. It was something wild. It was a regular name, but it was
I can't remember. It was not great.
no.
Just like Curtis Axel, wasn't he like Michael McGillicuddy or something?
Yeah, but that's his real name.
Is that really his real name?
Mm-hmm.
No.
Pretty sure it is.
Oh, man, it's almost as bad as having a name like Michael Hickenbottom.
I wouldn't say it's that bad, but yeah, it's pretty bad.
Yikes.
The only thing that confused me about like the entrances of this match was CM Punk didn't come out first or last.
No, he was in the middle.
He was in the middle as the champion, which threw me off a little bit and made me feel like Ryback had the best chance of coming through with this. He was very over at this time.
Well, I was going to say, that's what they wanted you to believe. Everything favored him to win it.
Yeah, and I mean, there's no reason why you would have the champion come out second out of 3. Like, you see him come out first sometimes. You see him come out last, but you never really see him in the middle, so this was just strange.
Yeah.
By the way, his name was Skip Sheffield.
Skip Shep, that's right, yeah. Good God.
Terrible
Didn't he
name.
have like this stupid cowboy hat?
He had hair, didn't he?
I mean,
He
it's
wasn't.
still not
I don't
as
think he
bad
was
as
bald.
Husky Harris.
Yeah. Wouldn't he say a tugboat with a Ferrari engine? It was
Just
like-
bad names overall in that crew.
Yeah.
That motley crew.
Although I think Heath Slater still was Heath Slater, which
Yeah.
is still a very like 80s, early 90s like Saved by the Bell name.
Yeah, and a couple of them kept their names, like Wade Barrett and
Which that one's
Justin
fine.
Gabriel,
And that one's
And-
fine.
Otunga.
And that
They
one's
all
fine.
kept
That's
their
his real name though, I think.
But then the other half is just a mess of names.
Yeah. It's just like, I mean, like Vince named a lot of people. Go back to Draws. They wanted to name him Puke. Because he could puke on command. And Vince found that out.
Oh, terrible.
Yeah, it's like, okay, that's what you're going to run with for a name.
Yeah, it's so bad. But he's been the top dog for over 20 years. He can do what he wants.
Yeah, by all means. So towards the end, I said the nice elbow drop to break up the hold. A brutal suplex through the table with Ryback. Cena and Punk working together in that moment to put Ryback through the table. I thought that was a really solid spot. And then we segue into the chaos where commentary does their traditional, "Who is this? Who is that? Wait. I think that's," insert Roman Reigns or whoever it may be. Line.
but
This one happened to be Roman Reigns.
Right.
Like I was talking about before, Ryback was looking like he was going to win it, got the shell shock on CM Punk, and then John Cena hit him with a shell shock, and then 3 individuals rushed the ring, which, as we know, it was the Shield.
Sierra Hotel.
Dean Ambrose and Seth Rollins obviously hit Ryback first and rolled him over and started the beatdown of just Ryback alone.
Yep. And Paul Heyman just obviously beside himself, selling himself well in the shock and chaos. And fans, I remember watching this one back in the day live. I'm like, who are these people? Why are they helping? And then realizing, is this group. And they weren't even in NXT as this group for very long at this point either. You saw how generic the attire was. And this, I believe,
They
was...
weren't in NXT at all as the Shield.
Weren't they? I thought they had a brief moment.
I don't remember them ever being a part of the Shield on NXT.
Maybe they went back down as the Shield then.
Yeah, because I do know they all had their singles runs, I guess you could say. Very brief for Dean Ambrose and Roman Reigns. Seth Rollins was obviously the first NXT champion.
Yeah, he was more tenured there than the other two.
But I don't remember them ever being the Shield in NXT.
I know they competed there as the Shield. I don't. Maybe it was they went back down then for some matches or like enhancement stuff or.
Yeah, that would make sense to get them more chemistry.
Yeah. Because I know they did.
Roman wasn't even a guarantee of a spot until that week, from what I've heard.
Yeah, I forget who else was supposed to be rounding out that trilogy.
Somebody that would not have made it as good as it was. It's going to bug me until I find it.
We'll remember after the show unless you figure it out. I thought this was a good close, though. Like, it was on that level of, like, a year or two before this with Nexus, that attack angle. And it's showcasing a faction properly, what they should have done with Retribution. So it's showing how effective it can be. And this ultimately led into some good stories, obviously. I believe, was it that first Mania, they opened up Mania a few months after this?
Yes, they did, which was against Team Hell No and blanking on the third person.
And they landed that 3-person power bomb, their signature.
I figured out who was supposed to who was the original Roman Reigns. It was going to be Chris Hero, which we know better as Cassius Ohno.
Oh, God, that would have been awful. That would not have worked. Cassius Ohno, like, he's good. He's a good talent. His time in NXT, though, he was not the same guy when he put on a bunch of weight.
No, very good wrestler. I am a huge fan of Chris Hero. A big fan of his ROH work, mainly.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's where he was in his prime. Him working with, who's it, Punk?
No, he was working with Cesaro. Was
it Cesaro? Did he have feuds with Punk? Because I know they had some sort of exchange years and years ago.
They were. I know Cassius Ohno and Claudio were a tag team. And they were both very good. But yeah, once Cassius Ohno picked up that weight, which by this time, when the Shield debuted, he had already picked up some weight.
Yeah. Yeah, he was not the same.
He wasn't necessarily the same after that, but he's still a good talent overall.
Oh, I agree. I was just not to the level that we knew him for. That's why I think it wouldn't have been the same. He doesn't carry the same demeanor, and this is complimentary, which is very rare for me. He doesn't carry the same demeanor that Roman has for that particular character.
Yeah, but as we all can probably agree, Roman Reigns got carried in the Shield.
Oh, 100%. 100%.
Dean Ambrose and Seth Rollins were very good, and Roman Reigns was very green and not too great.
Mm-hmm.
He was very strong, but that's about it. That's all he had.
Well, right. He was the strong, silent powerhouse. That's all they needed him to be, and it worked.
Which, it. Thank you for saying that the Shield worked. Look at you.
But it did.
Yay.
For a time being.
Oh, God.
The problem I had was after the initial betrayal storyline, the reuniting, the selling, the gotta sell of merch, and then the constant love triangle of them all feuding with each other, just it became too much. It was one of those things, we've seen this, and it was why I said I don't want to see Seth Rollins again facing off against Roman, being on the same show.
Yeah. No, I can see that, but I think at that time, right after the Shield, when they started doing, Dean Ambrose versus Seth, then they had that triple threat match between all three of them for the title. That was a very good match overall. I love the Shield, though. All three of them are up there on my list for favorite wrestlers currently. So, yeah, I mean, there's no hatred from me on the Shield.
Yeah, like I said, that's just how I feel about it. There were a lot of growing pains with the faction too, figuring out characters. They really, besides Seth Rollins, they were all kind of inexperienced. Dean Ambrose, and we said this before, I'll say it to death, he never got to be himself in WWE. That hurt him.
No, I mean this is the Shield was the closest we got to him being himself.
Mm-hmm.
That violent psychopath that he was during the Shield era.
I just hated the promos. I hated the promos from him. Like, stop watching The Dark Knight.
Are you talking about like the legitimate promos, or are you talking about
the
like,
backstage camera, the videotape stuff?
The videotape stuff.
I hated that.
Yeah, it was fairly cringy, especially in the beginning. They're like just saying their names.
Yeah, it lacked polish and direction. Like, they had a good idea on paper, and they just really needed to figure out where to go with it and how they could go with it. And I think that's just been the story of, Roman, too, for his career. They could never figure out Dean Ambrose. Like, they botched his whole time there pretty much after.
Yeah, I mean, they turned him into a comedy act for the most part.
And that doesn't fit. He should have been a modern-day Cactus Jack type character.
But, I mean, we saw hints of that still. Like,
right, but that's not enough.
We saw that Ambrose Asylum match with Chris Jericho. We saw the match with Brock Lesnar.
Oh, the match with Brock Lesnar was hot garbage, though.
Yes, but still. You still saw hints of that guy.
Sure, but don't give me hints. Like, that's stupid. It's like looking at the menu, but then you can't get the actual fucking food delivered to your table.
I agree with that. No, they completely shit the bed with Jon Moxley. Now, Dean Ambrose was that comedy guy, but they never got the Jon Moxley that he was before he got to WWE and what we're seeing now with AEW.
Well, sure, but I'm speaking in WWE. It's a missed opportunity. They failed it. They could have done better. They should have done better. And the same thing for Roman Reigns. Like, what we're getting now, I'd love to have so much more praise, and it deserves it. I just can't get on that train. For one, I feel like I would be selling myself out to do so, just because I've had a constant, as far as my disdain towards the direction that they've done. When you have so many headlining WrestleManias of him and somebody, or him and Brock, or him, like, stop beating the dead horse. Give us the character evolution. This is the same problem I had with Cena. Give us the character evolution. Do something. If this is not working, do something. You don't have to always give what the fans want, but do something. And change his goddamn music. Like, seriously.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing that that's the big thing. Like I said a little bit earlier, I'm a big fan of all three of them, especially right now. But during that time frame, right after when they first broke up, I was still... Dean Ambrose was my favorite wrestler at the time. And as Seth Rollins slowly started getting better as that authority heel, he started becoming my favorite as well.
Yeah.
And
which we spoke on already too.
Yeah, Roman Reigns not as much recently. He's getting a lot better, but all three of them are just fantastic.
And I mean, they were centerpieces of the show. You had Cena fading out. They have not done a great job of creating main eventers over these years. And they put too much stock in Roman Reigns as being the hero. And when everything happened with his cancer and stuff, I think they shit themselves. Because they're like, oh no, this is their future. This was supposed to be our guy. Now what?
Yeah, and they didn't know where to go from there.
No. And they've had so many potential talents come in and out their doors. And this is the difference in this era and that golden age that we speak on so much being our age group of the Attitude Era. It's not the crazy bra and panties matches. It's not the hardcore stuff or the vulgar language, suck this, suck that, puppies, head, what does everybody want? It's the fact that you could have interchangeable main events from a good chunk of your roster. You booked people believably being main eventers. Today, we don't have that, and we have not in many, many years. And that is a problem in the men's division. You don't have enough believable main eventers.
Yeah, and that's the thing. They really could, though, but they just don't utilize people correctly.
And then they go back to the well which I wanted to speak on,
Yeah.
going back to the exit of this pay-per-view leading into that Royal Rumble match, which led to The Rock being the one to destroy that record-setting reign at the modern era from CM Punk. What the hell? You go to the well. Why do we keep going to legends who are way past their prime for these matches? Like, who really is getting that excited that you're going to sell a few more pay-per-view buys?
Was The Rock really past his prime in 2012?
Potentially The Rock being an exception to the rule here, because I still think he's probably in his prime today. Which, when he faces Roman, I still think we'll get a solid match. But the point I'm making is what CM Punk made with his pipe bomb promos is he hustled day in and day out, just like so many of the talents on the roster today. They're giving their bodies, their lives, to have somebody that's in Hollywood show up and just get a belt. Come on.
Yeah.
Unacceptable. And it's just like many matches we've seen between these legends facing off with the belt on the line too. They don't need a belt.
Well, yeah. I mean, if you look at John Cena, if he ever comes back, he's 100% gonna break Ric Flair's record.
But why?
As soon as he comes back.
I don't know if he wants to. I think he has respect. Well, hustle, loyalty as well. But I don't think he breaks it. I don't think we see anyone break it.
Well,
Personally, I don't
Charlotte.
think. But that's a different belt. We're talking about men's division. And Charlotte,
Yeah,
I don't like what they've
still-
done with her multiple reigns either.
Still world title though. Yeah, I mean, she could break that times two.
She could, but because you keep, for a while there was like every 4 weeks they were changing the belt.
Yeah,
I
she
don't
had
know
a
if
she had a
Sasha-
lot of back and forths.
Too many.
Actually, end up win one.
And that's just it. They weren't. It was her and Sasha Banks and a bunch of other people going back and forth exchanging the title. Too much. But those are my thoughts on the topics at hand being relevant to S.H.I.E.L.D. and then CM Punk. And then ultimately it was shortly after that he left the company too. And we have not seen him wrestle since. Unless you count the run-in at an indie promotion, but I don't count that. Because he was masked and no one knows for certain if it was him.
Yeah, which I don't know if you've seen recently, but he just had he just answered a question on Instagram, I believe, this week, and said somebody asked him if he would wrestle Roman at Mania, and he said he would do the first match because that show's like I believe he said like 74 hours long.
What?
Yeah, he said he would wrestle in the first match of Mania. He wouldn't wrestle in the main event of WrestleMania these days because the show goes too long.
Well, here's the thing, too. If CM Punk were to come back, get a championship match, he would become what he hated.
And that's why I don't think he should ever return because
He should never.
He would.
He lives long enough to become the villain. Yeah, no.
I've actually been rewatching. I've had it on mute. Survivor Series, and right now the Shield is running in, and it looks like Dean Ambrose took quite the tumble there when he first ran in the ring.
Yeah, didn't he trip over the barricade?
That was Seth Rollins.
That was Seth. Okay, because
yeah.
I know one of them did. I don't know if it was this event, but
he always did that roll over the barricade, like he would jump over and like do the roll.
yeah.
And his feet got caught at one point.
We all take falls. That's why it's funny. Some of us fall downstairs. Some of us drop a weight on our toe. Some of us...
I don't want to talk about it. My toe hurts right now.
Time for some more painkillers.
Yeah, and this is the first time we got to see that triple power bomb, or that single power bomb by three people.
Yes, you'd be corrected by DKA. So
yeah, so that's why I said it that way. They absolutely destroyed just Ryback alone. I think the original plan, because I know CM Punk created the Shield. I know he was the original person that had the idea. They were planned to be his personal mercenaries, but it evolved much further than that.
Which makes sense. I mean, that seems logical. Run with that.
But if you notice, they never attacked John Cena. They never attacked, obviously, CM Punk, because at this time, the plan was for them to be his personal mercenaries. But they quickly, as we all know, they quickly changed that and decided they were the Hounds of Justice in general.
I noticed that when Cena took the fall, he was quickly out of that ring and up the ramp at the end of the show, too.
Yeah, and that actually just happened on the screen.
Yeah, he was very quick to get beat and just out of there.
Yeah, and he rolled straight out and just instantly walked to the back, like a complete no-sell.
Yeah, I thought that was strange.
It's very... Well, John Cena doesn't like CM Punk at all, and he never did. He actually hated him, so I feel like he was a little salty by this, and it kind of showed right there.
Bunch of freaking arrogant dicks.
Well, what was your guys' stars for this? I gave this one a 4-star.
3.
I'm going to give it a 4.5 because of the Shield.
Oh, come on. It's not that cool.
The Shield in general.
Overall, I gave it the whole thing a 3.
Yeah. Match, the main event was a 3. Overall was a 3.
Yeah, I'd say overall a 3. We got to see the debut of Tamina and the Shield, which is pretty cool and pretty historic.
Cool moments, I agree, but not enough to save it.
Nothing really to write home about. And the Survivor Series matches were good, but they were traditional Survivor Series matches. All of them were pretty good.
So the reason I select this one was for these historical moments. That's why I picked this one. I knew it was a great talking point for the three of us. So it was one of those things that I knew you'd have a lot to add to the conversation. So that was the motivation for me picking this particular show for us to talk about. Because I know you question that, like if I was being very hypercritical, it's because I wanted to have talking points, and I knew you'd have them.
I had them.
And you delivered, so thank you. Speaking of delivering, viewers, listeners, we want your feedback. Sometime this week we're going to be posting a poll. That'll be available on social media. We use Facebook groups. Find us. We'll probably post this since it's wrestling. We'll probably keep it isolated to NAW, so you can go under groups, search for Nerd Acumen Wrestling. We're going to post a poll. Each of us are going to add 2 pay-per-views to that list. We're not going to put our names by it, so you won't have any leverage on, I want to pick because of so-and-so. It'll be anonymous. You may figure it out because you're smart. For one, you're smart because you're listening to us.
And you're cute.
Yes, you are. See what we're doing? We're pandering. We're selling it.
I do have at least one of mine already picked in my head.
I have ideas. I don't have mine narrowed down, though.
I'm not pandering.
One specific I want to watch back is the reason for my pick. And I'll let you guys know off the air.
Seems fair.
Different.
But that's all we have, though, for... Yes, you are. Nucci's back. They eat bread. Yes, I am, says Andrea Lana. You are what? Yes, I am. I'm surprised you're still awake.
I think it's because we said cute.
Oh, okay. Yes. Hey, there's some emotes. So again, if you ever want to join us and be part of our chat, we're going to do our best to respond to messages as they come up and interact with you. Most notably, if it's pay-per-view you're excited about, join us. As of right now, we've been doing Sunday nights, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, twitch.tv/DoseOfNerdAcumen. Also, you can find us. We have an Instagram for Nerds of Wrestling. Not active much, but we do have one. Follow us. But notably, we are most active in the Nerd Acumen Wrestling group for our wrestling show that appears every Tuesday, every Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Again, special start times this week. Well, special date, rather. Tuesday, Taboo Tuesday. I'm excited for this because it's going to feature the final encounter between Make Rated Great Again and Cody King, the king of them all, the man who will be booking our Survivor Series event later this month. You're not going to want to miss that. And then, of course, Wednesday, back to normal. NAW, back to those redemption matches. So those are going to be fun. That all happens this week. Additional programming to catch whether or not Trevor or Kevin will be streaming. Do we know, Trevor, tomorrow?
I believe Kevin is streaming tomorrow.
So more Psychonauts, correct?
Yeah.
All right, tune in for that.
I knew he was.
You said you will if he won't?
I said last I know he was.
Oh, last you know he was.
If
Okay.
he doesn't, I'll try to. Alright, I gotta find my headset. I don't like this one. Especially if people have a hard time hearing me.
Yeah, we do got to get your volume up for sure. Nushi says you can't wait for Austin debut. And so Monday, catch that. Tuesday, Wednesday, catch NAW action. I don't know if there's going to be something to fill in the slot on Thursday. That's what she said. Friday is generally not much. Wednesdays at 10 p.m., though, Mikey Nightmare plays Warzone on YouTube, youtube.com/Doesn'tHurtAcumen. And then Saturdays, we have Lockbox, whether it's some more Among Us or Jackbox games. I'm not certain. And my assumption, he has went to bed by this point in the show.
Old man.
Old man, that's all right. He works hard for his money, so you better treat him right.
At 6.
Say it again?
He has to be up at 6, so
Yeah,
I don't blame him for the bed.
He gets up early. And then it all repeats again next Sunday, if everything goes according to plan, with your pick of the next pay-per-view. So tune in to the next NOW podcast, available on all podcast platforms. Follow us, subscribe today for free, leave us a review, tell us your thoughts, feelings, and deepest, darkest secrets. Let us know all about the juicy details. That was cringe and creepy. Let's not go on to doing that now. Anyways, thank you for joining me, Cody. Thank you for joining me, Trevor. Glad to have this trio. And sometime soon, we are going to have guests on this show. I promise. It's going to happen at some point. We just got to work out those finite details. Any parting thoughts from you, Trevor?
Everybody have a good night. Thanks for coming. Thanks for listening.
Cody.
The light will shine in the month of November on NAW. And good night, nerds.
That creeps me out. Thank you for listening. And until next time, stay nerdy.